Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who has put a secret advantage underneath your chair. And if you don't find it, I won't be mad, but I'll be a little disappointed. I'm Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our feedback show here for episode number 8 of Survivor 42. And we are so fortunate to have here with us on a great week on Rob Has a Podcast. We just came off of a recap episode with Angelina Cardona-Keeley. Really fun interview. Highly suggest you check that out. We have another incredible woman here with us to talk Survivor. Please welcome in one of the on the Mount Rushmore of the feedback show guests. Here is Hannah Shapiro. Hannah Lil Nesson. Hannah, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm honored to be back. I love the RHAP community, and I'm jazzed. I'm a little nervous. I think I'm out of my podcasting juices, but I'm ready to go.
No, I don't know. I don't think you can run out of the juices. They are always replenished, and it is so good to have you back here with us on the Survivor Feedback Show, Hannah.
I mean, it's awesome to be here. I asked you specifically to say, tell me that you love having me on this podcast.
Oh, I love having you on the podcast. Did I not unlock the secret advantage?
Sure. I was trying to, in honor of Chanel, who, when she got voted off, said, "We love you, Chanel." And she had the best response this week. She went, sure.
Sure.
That's what I was going for. The Chanel, sure. In honor of our booted lady, to do the really sassiest response to being voted off I've seen. Subtle, but sassy.
A little subtle and sassy. Like yourself. The two S's.
Yeah, I mean, I just found it to be very underhanded. I wish I could pull off a sure to someone telling me they love me. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really funny.
She wasn't buying it, because if you loved her, why did they vote her out?
Why'd they vote her out? Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It was, the general goodbye, everyone well wishes their first jury member, and she wasn't having it. And I appreciated it.
Yeah. But I am so happy that you are here back with us, that this is always like a really fun experience. I thought it worked out so well last season, where you had not watched the season. And then to get ready to come on and talk with us, then you watch the whole season. So yes. You've consumed all of Survivor 42 in the last week.
Yeah, I tend to watch it like a movie, I tend to, right before I podcast, I had about 6 episodes to prep. And so I sat down this week and started from the beginning. Once again, Jeff, addressing us in these monologues. And I've just watched it through like a great action flick.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's been a lot of Survivor this week.
It's been a lot of Survivor this week. So we can get your download on everything going on in season 42. Let me just give some programming notes here. I mentioned the Angelina podcast. That was a really fun one.
Definitely check that out. She's great.
Go check it out. Of course, we are going to have another podcast this week. Nasir from Survivor 41. Everybody loves Nasir. I'm going to check in with Nasir coming up on Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to drop that one on Sunday night for everybody. And then we'll have Jessica Leese on the Survivor Academy. That's a brand new show that I do for the patrons of Rob's podcast to get people ready to go play in future seasons. Don't you wish you could have had something like that?
I wish I knew what a podcast was before I left and played Survivor. I can say that confidently.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I thought a podcast was a 5-minute long song type thing that you listen to in bits. So I was 105 and did not know what a podcast was. I wish I had been a part of the Academy.
Wow, 5-minute podcast. I mean, that would free my whole day up.
You just come in, you give the bullet points, and then you leave.
All right. I mean, we'd be getting ready to wrap up right now.
Yeah, so thank you so much for listening.
Hannah, what else do you have going on these days?
You can find me at Hannah Lil Nesson if you liked what you heard here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then, of course, we'll be back next time with another 5-minute podcast.
No, I'm glad. I'm ready to do our typical 5 hours. Rob, I feel like we've had a long, chatty friendship. It's just the best. I like doing this every season. I'm always willing and excited to watch 6 episodes just to come talk to you about it.
Yeah. I mean, it has been a minute since we started doing these. So that of course, You played in Survivor. What was that? It was the fall of 2016.
I think it was the first or second season of the show.
It was the
It was
first or second
shot
season
on.
of the show.
It was black and white back then. The way they
Mhm.
filmed it.
Yeah.
Jeff Probst had just turned 18. He was a
Yes.
young
He just
boy
moved.
just out of high school.
He just moved to Seattle.
Mhm.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. At this point, though, I love when people back in the days when there were, I saw other humans in RHAP party situations. I loved when people would come up to me and say that they liked me on the podcast. Oh, and Survivor too.
Yeah.
I like that it was the second thought. Though
That was your second credit.
I'm happy to bring my island experience to a podcast, but I do like that the podcasting has taken over.
Yes.
You were on this show, I believe, as well.
Yeah, yes, many, many years ago.
Wild times.
Wild times. That blows some people's minds. Some listeners don't know, so a lot of the survivors don't know. This is
This is inside information that Rob and I were on the show.
If you're just joining us, yes, you are listening to two veterans of Survivor talking shop.
Wow. There's like two listeners that just threw down their drink in surprise.
Yes, minds are blown. Okay, speaking of blowing minds, tell us, Hannah, what are your thoughts here of Survivor 42? Because in some ways, you've been prepared for this because you saw Survivor 41.
I did.
You kind of got like, all right, like got your toes in the water. Okay, so you kind of know what this is.
Yeah, the monster was birthed in 41, but now, as Jeff Probst says, the monster is hungry. I mean, my favorite part of the new era of Survivor is that it's a bit funnier, I think. And I appreciate when a show is silly. For like, this has been the season of fake blood. And if you had explained to like a season 3 contestant that there'd be an era of fake blood, they might be confused.
Well, that would be really wild because in season 3, they drank real blood.
Oh.
Yeah. So that would be a real curveball to go from like, okay, so like you know all the real blood we're doing stuff with. Okay, well eventually we're gonna do fake blood. They might be like, that sounds worse.
I think this new era has positives and negatives. And I think a positive is the goofiness. Another positive is the diversity in stories. I've loved like the multiple check-ins about different religions this season on a show that historically has been very Christian-centered in its prayer. I can say from my time on the island, even. And I still love the flashbacks to people's lives. I'm still a bit more of a fan of the 39-day format. We're on day like 3 now of the show. And so that I'm iffier about. I always,
I believe it's day 16.
All right. It's day 16. Listen, I'm not negating the fact that they don't have rice. It's hard. But it's been like 2 weeks. Everyone can calm down. Rob and I lived on the island for like 100 days. You don't lose your mind till after day 28.
Combined between the two of us, we have roughly 100 days.
Roughly 100 days. I think the cast is fantastic. I'm really enjoying the different sort of breakout stars of this cast. And honestly,
who's your breakout star? Who's your one person?
I mean, in terms of the person making the best TV that I think is dynamic and stands out, I would 100% give that award to Marianne. I think she is incredible casting. I think she, people ask a lot, like, how do I get on the show? Like, what's the trick? I mean, it's to be unfiltered. It's to be Marianne throughout the process of casting. She's so, everything is on her face and on her heart is just worn on her 16-day sleeve. And I think the whole cast is fantastic. But I think in terms of, breakout character, I mean, Marianne.
That's a great answer.
Character, yeah. Who do you think? Do you have a breakout character?
No, I mean, I think that Marianne has certainly been a big star this season. There's some people that really feel like Jonathan has stolen the different aspects of the show.
I after watching Jonathan in the first challenge, in which he did not turn the boat, he like pulled it sideways, I called my boyfriend up and apologized because I said I got
Yes.
so flustered. I watched the Avengers. I was late to the Avengers game, but he
Yes, but
sort
you're
of has
here.
that superhuman quality, and it's wild to watch in
Mm-hmm.
challenges. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good answer as well.
Good answer.
That's a good
Yeah.
answer.
Okay. So this week we
Yeah.
saw Chanel go out of the game.
Hmm.
Did you have any thoughts on Chanel and her situation this season?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts
Yeah.
on every aspect of it. Yeah, I think we're really seeing a bunch of different things at play. But one of it is just getting, like Chanel said, getting in the numbers at the merge. A big core alliance has formed, and that usually happens every season. I know at our merge, it definitely happened. We had sort of a quieter majority alliance that began to emerge. Luckily, I was a part of it. But we're really seeing that the pre-merge game is very different than the post-merge game, but everything that happens really affects every part of the show. So this
Mm-hmm.
majority alliance that has formed is because different clusters. Oh no, I'm going to get a trust clusters comment by saying this, but different clusters of people have trust and form this majority based on what happened in the pre-merge part of the game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's very difficult to come out from that. I mean, obviously, last season you can be on the bottom and find your way in a winning position, but it's much harder.
Mm-hmm. So it looks to me like next week we're going to see the thing where they get to the final 10 and they're going to split up into two groups of 5. And I feel like that, and I don't know if it like where I can sort of like send in this suggestion, but I feel like that they, if they are going to do that in a season, I think that they should have done it this week. I think that you get to this point where at the final 11, and we had the same thing last season. This was the week that Tiffany went out, where there's just like a big group that's like a big like amoeba, and it's if anything they're just like trying to find like, okay, who's the safe person that we could vote out. I think they've tried to do this rice negotiation twice, which sort of like is a little interesting, but it doesn't end up like really changing the dynamics. And I think that what they do here with they're going to split into two groups of 5 potentially next week. And then we end up losing the final 9 vote. In modern day Survivor, I think there's really only 3 votes that are like very much very important. That's at like 5, 7, and 9. And I think by doing by splitting into two groups at 11, I think it's sort of like you end up, okay, now this is like an intriguing vote as opposed to the final 11 vote, which is kind of just like a runaway of just like picking off one of the people that's like not bothering anybody on the bottom. And then we end up having then, and then do the final 10 vote, which is again, 10 is like too big of a number. But then now we have a real final 9. We can maybe see like a big flip happen.
Yeah, I think that's the
Was
thing
that too
about.
nerdy? Was that too nerdy to talk about here?
No, I think if you didn't understand that, sign up for Patreon in the Academy, and Rob will
Mm-hmm.
spend 6 to 7 hours
Yeah.
breaking down that 30-second answer. If you're
I
confused.
just so basically like the thing that they're gonna do next week, like if they want to do that, I wish they would do it one vote earlier, and we would have basically lose the final 11, the final 10, which I think is like the softest and worst part of a Survivor season, and then get to okay, all right, final 9 is like the first time that we could see like, all right, a group of 5 is gonna emerge at the final 9. And now we're gonna lose that because that we'll have our final 10 and final 9 vote here in groups of 5 potentially.
No, I do understand what you're saying, because at this point, with this many people and such a big solid group in the majority, people are going
It's
to be
untenable.
also people are too. It's not the time to like attack people within your own alliance. It just that would go completely against your plan. There's not just 1 or 2 people on the bottom. There's 3 or 4. So you have your options. People don't want to rock the boat and lose the majority. There's a couple options to bounce between. You're right. It's not the most interesting, and maybe now's the time to split. I just think modern day Survivor is doing this thing, and you're the expert. But from my perspective, it's like, it's almost like if there are less twists or less splits, then you get to see people's strategy more, and it gets to be more complex strategy because you see the playing board that you're working with. But with these constant switches and random places you're put in, sometimes it's actually less intense strategy because you're just trying to navigate.
You're just trying to be safe, right?
You're trying to be safe, and so you're not seeing the dynamics within a bigger group as clearly in general.
Yeah.
In terms of splitting it up.
We talk about that a lot during Big Brother when they throw all these powers into the game and everything that's going on. And I think that is like definitely like a very good point. I'm just saying, like what you were saying earlier, like we had Tori was on the bottom. Ooh, Tori won immunity. And it's like, no big deal. We still have like Chanel to go after. And if not Chanel, then we have Romeo to go after.
And if not Romeo, hypothetically, Marianne.
Those
are the four
we have no shortage of people on the bottom to put the vote on. So like,
right.
and because there's so many people in the big group, nobody really cares who it ultimately is going to be.
Yeah, I think that, I'm curious. And then it becomes a thing too, when you keep splitting it constantly, of the luck of who you happen to be with too.
Yeah.
Okay. Which we've seen. Yeah.
All right. So let's just get into a little bit of Romeo versus Chanel. We saw Romeo get very paranoid about being the person who was at the bottom.
My bell, I would press it, but like a buzzer, like, yeah. I don't like this whole Romeo paranoid narrative. This episode was like a paranoid person's worst nightmare, which is that the paranoia is real. This narrative that Romeo is paranoid. And yes, Chanel had the strategy of like, I'm going to sit at camp. If they can't see me, like they can't vote me off if I don't move. Like, don't move. I don't seem paranoid. But this whole idea that Romeo was paranoid, from my perspective, seemed bogus. I mean, not only was Romeo the backup vote to Chanel, he's also fully on the bottom. The idea being that if once Chanel goes or Tori goes, he's next. He's picking up on the fact that his closest allies, the people he thought he was closest to, someone like Drea, are not working with him anymore. And he's vocalizing that. Everything he's saying is true. And that's not to say that perception doesn't become reality and the majority should paint him as paranoid. That's a good strategy. But there were a few people, especially Hai this episode, that seemed to really get annoyed by Romeo's quote unquote paranoia. And it's almost like Hai started to believe his own act about it, because Romeo is fully on the bottom and it's not paranoia. He is listing facts. Now, did he go about it the right way? Probably not. I don't know. He's in a tough spot. I don't know how he should have. But let's not call him realizing the situation paranoia.
Yeah, I got kind of indignant about how we told him he was safe. Now we have to go after him. Romeo tweeted out this week, if being paranoid, he used hashtag paranoid. I don't know why, he needed to get in on the I don't even think I should click on the paranoid hashtag to see who else is using that. If being paranoid really means being aware of my surroundings and trying to shake things up when things are not going in my favor, then yes, I am always paranoid. Shrug emoji. Hashtag Survivor. Same. Big same. Big same.
Hold on a sec. My cast was on such good behavior. We were never allowed to tweet defenses. If I could have tweeted defenses during my season, I would have cleared up and tweeted a lot of defenses.
Twitter would have been lit.
It would have been lit up with hashtag paranoia. But good for this cast. They get to tweet, and they
get to be loosey goosey. I think season 41 they were kind of. I feel like that they were kind of a little bit more like that they needed to run things past. Now I think it's a little bit.
They're all loosey goosey, but Romeo, you're not wrong. We all saw that.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You weren't hashtag paranoid. Again, I don't know what the behavior was actually being out there. That's something that's hard to say. But again, like he lost his. I mean, and Andrea did say in the very beginning, the most confusing breakage of a pair for me initially this episode was Drea being like, I wanted to work with Romeo, and now he's acting all paranoid. So maybe there is more that we're not seeing before this. But, like Drea pulled Roy into the alliance and not Romeo. I know I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
So some good stuff about Romeo all around. That when I rewatched the episode, everybody's talking about like, oh, Romeo, he's getting paranoid, big problem. Uh-oh. But honestly, like if you're in the big alliance, don't you want ideally, like, isn't this the perfect scenario where you're voting out Chanel? Don't you want Romeo as paranoid as possible? So maybe he plays his whatever
Shot
advantage he has, his play. Like, Romeo's so paranoid. He's playing his shot in the dark tonight. Great. Now we vote him out next time. Like, I kind of felt like that. Wait, who cares if Romeo is getting super paranoid? We're voting out Chanel.
Well, you don't want Chanel and Romeo to both play their shot in the dark, both win their shot in the dark.
They're both gonna hit on their shot in the dark now. Like there's the chances. I think the chances are less than 1% that could happen.
Isn't it 2 out of 12?
It's 2. But
then each of them.
Yeah, so it's basically it's 2 out of 12, but it's basically like 1 out of 6, like times 1 out of 11. I think. Look, this is not my, but basically it would be
like Mike. Yeah. We're not well versed in calculus.
Right.
Yeah, I think someone who's handling it well in the majority alliance is Omer. Like he seems to be building relationships and keeping his options open with each of these people, quote unquote, at the bottom. Including Romeo. He calmly was like, I'll check out the scene for you.
Yeah.
I mean, Omer had the advantage that he didn't vote, so they didn't quite know where he stayed. I guess I'm fine with if the strategy is to paint this person as you can't work with them because, there's always going to be a next vote. You want people to have targets. I guess I was confused by what seemed like by a bunch of people, a genuine anger at a paranoia that was real. I thought that was funny. And now the next person that's paranoid on Survivor is going to be like, am I paranoid or am I Romeo? He's going to become a thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's hope for Romeo? Do you think can Romeo rebound from this?
I really enjoyed the moments we saw of Romeo earlier in the season. We saw him looking for, the idol with Drea. We saw him bonding with Hai about coming out to his family. I just think that perception is reality, unfortunately, on Survivor. You could be screaming the correct answer to the calculus problem, but if everyone out there is saying, no, that's the wrong answer, on Survivor, if the math only adds up to what the group says the math adds up to.
Right.
Truth
it's like you're on The Price is Right. You know what the answer is, but the audience is like 7. It's 7. It's 7.
Exactly. And unfortunately on Survivor, even if you get the answer right, if the audience all says it's 7, the answer's changed to 7. Everything is whatever it's a game of group.
It's more Family Feud than Price is Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You're trying to guess what the group is saying. Right.
You're just trying to guess. And unfortunately for Romeo, whether or not it's true, he's not just on the bottom. He has this perception now of being paranoid, harder to work with, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, Hai even said it, I believe, during the car metaphor that Probst got all jazzed about. He was saying perception is reality. I believe he mentioned perception. And that's what it is. So I think Romeo, it's looking tough for our boy Romeo.
Hannah, this is the feedback show. We have a lot of questions. We got, according to Sam Moore, we got 3 times as many feedback voicemail questions for you here on the feedback show than we get on a typical week.
I'm so flattered. I love the voicemail podcast. You and I used to do the regular pod, and I said, I want to hear from the listeners. Forget the main pod. Yeah, I said, screw that. I said, I'd trade in this for the voicemails. I like hearing from people. And the fact that listeners, I guess, got excited or maybe they everyone just had collectively a slower week and decided to send it in. I'm honored. I can't wait to hear from people.
I've got a question for you, and this is from our great friend, Alex Forstenhausler.
Great.
Alex Forstenhausler here, longtime listener, second-time caller. My question is for Hannah. Given Survivor's newfound propensity for silliness as seen by the fake blood and random phrases, what do you think is the next stage in the evolution of silly twists?
Okay.
The evolution.
Hannah,
yes.
In the evolution of silly twists, do you have anything?
Yes. I have a lot. First
You
of
have a
all,
lot.
I love this question. Alex, total disclosure, because he deserves a shout out. Every time before I podcast, I nervously call Alex to be like, here's what I think of the season. Yes. He's a great sounding board.
I
So
can't believe this is only his second voicemail in the history. I have to fact check that. That can't be right.
I always tell him, I go, send in a voicemail. I never know what's coming, but I want to give him that shout out.
Okay.
I think we should have a returnee season, but everyone's in a mask of a different player.
Okay.
So you don't know who you're playing against the whole time. So Boston Rob is in a Parvati mask.
Okay.
Is it a
full body Parvati suit?
I think now that I'm
I kind of feel like
I kind
of feel like that. Yeah, that like even if you had like a Mission Impossible perfect Parvati mask. Like, I do feel like
Jonathan
that Boston Rob, I think the body would give it away.
Jonathan has to play as Angelina.
Okay.
Really, this is not a legit answer. This is going to get people annoyed. That might go too far. It's fair.
Okay.
I think the more silliness, the better, though. I love the fake blood. I love silly phrases. My favorite part of the silly phrase this season is that like Drea spent so much energy like really incorporating her phrase in a natural way, and then Mike just went, I have to say something. I cry at soccer. So I think the more silliness, I think you should have to put on more costumes.
Yeah.
I think you should have to do weirder stuff.
Hannah, okay. All right. Here's what I have for you. And I really I look, longtime listeners know that I am a humble man. Okay. I do not toot my own horn very often.
Toot it.
But to everybody listening, sit up a little straighter in your chair.
All right.
And figure out a way to petition Survivor, because I'm about to tell you the greatest idea I've ever had.
Let's hear it. My signature pen is ready.
Get ready, Hannah, because that the next great Survivor twist, please, Survivor producers, if you're listening, okay, it's called the smelly hidden immunity idol. Okay.
That's brilliant.
All right. And now here's what I need you to help me decide. Does the smelly hidden immunity idol smell delicious? Is it basically like a cinnamon roll? Or does the smelly hidden immunity idol smell disgusting?
I think it has to smell putrid.
Putrid.
I think the closer you get, the more physical sensory pain you have to be in.
Yes. Okay. Because first off, as a Survivor player, your sense of smell is, and I have never experienced this in any other time of my life outside of playing Survivor. I have never had a more heightened sense of smell than when playing Survivor. The production people are around. It's like, oh, yeah, Cheetos. You had a beer last night. You are on top of it. You know exactly. You have an incredible sense of smell when you're playing Survivor. You're so hungry. Yes.
What if there's one putrid, and that's the beware idol, and there's one delicious, and that's the positive one? There's one of each.
Well, and I think that maybe if there's two tribes, maybe you have one person, like there's a yin and a yang to it. One person on one tribe has the disgusting smelling, hitting me like it smells like a skunk. And it has to be different than BO. This is important, okay?
Okay.
Has to be different than it. Make sure it's not BO scented. Yes.
I love this. No, I have my own silly pitch after. I love this. Okay.
And then the other person gets now it has to be something that's waterproof. Like I don't work at Glade or any of these like air freshener companies. Right. But that then, I imagine you're walking around with the smell of cinnamon roll wafting off of you, and be like, "What's that?
What is that?
Do you smell? Yeah, what is that? What is that? I smell
Suddenly
it."
Tori is like, "There's no cinnamon rolls around here."
Why do you smell like a cinnamon roll? I have no idea. I don't know.
This is so brilliant.
Yes.
I'm 100%.
And you have to bring it with you to tribal.
Yeah, and
you
they're
smell
like,
something?
Why does it smell like Applebee's? It smells like Applebee's turnover dessert, sponsored by Applebee's. The Applebee's idol.
The Applebee's idols. That's great.
Conversely, smell like home.
Why do you smell a skunk? Why did you? Is that like what is that? That horrible smell. Is that you?
What is Applebee's competitor that they pay to be sponsor the smelly idol? Like Denny's? Oh no, Denny's was mentioned in a positive way. Mike said 50%.
We'll talk about Denny's. Okay. Hannah,
this is
the
so
smelly hidden immunity idol. Send it to Fiji.
Oh my God. I'm so blown away by how brilliant this is. I have one more pitch for a silly idea.
Yes.
That I thought about while you were pitching your brilliant idea. So Jeff has been monologuing into the camera. Now, in order to activate the idol, instead of saying a silly phrase, a contestant has to face a camera and do a Jeff-style monologue of a specific thing out of the blue. And that's how they activate
Is this
idol.
At the mat? This is a tribal? Where is this? In a challenge?
That's a good question. I'd say in the middle of camp life. They have to turn to an idol and be like, the thing about soccer, I love it, but they have to do it as a monologue and walk along with the camera. It's called the monologue activation idol.
Okay. See, I think that I don't know if you could necessarily like do that at camp, but like on the mat, could you like say like your beware advantage clue says, all right, interrupt Jeff and tell him that you would like to set up the challenge. Like that would be, like very presumptive. And
here's what will happen: two
and
teams
Jeff's
of
not
five
in on
will
it.
race.
Jeff's not in on it either.
Oh, I love that Jeff doesn't know. I love that Jeff doesn't know.
Not sure if you could pull this off, but imagine, like, excuse me, Jeff, can I cut in? Can I set this up? Can I take a stab at this?
Under your seat, you find a Jeff Probst hat too and a shirt. You have to button up and do his thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think these would make Survivor better, and I think if you disagree, you're not fun.
You're not. Yeah. You're being no fun.
You're being no fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're about to tweet at us, this is stupid. Take a mirror instead and say you're no fun.
Don't be such a hater.
Well, yeah, don't hate on brilliance.
Yeah. But I think that these are some, really fun ideas.
I'm really glad that the evolution of me podcasting with you is starting from early podcasts being like, I'm so scared what people think about me all the time, to being like, if you don't agree with us, you suck.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that confidently.
Yeah. Just turn it off if you don't like it.
Yeah. If you're like, another Hannah one, she was there last season.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Or listen at 3.0 speed. We'll just sound like ants.
Is that what ants sound like?
Yes.
Okay.
This was a great question, Alex. Thank you.
Great question, Alex. Thank you so much.
For sending it in.
Let's see. How about a question? Let's see. Okay. You want to do a serious question? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Let's see.
I gotta have my serious mode in.
Yeah, let's do one serious.
Let's do serious.
Okay.
Listen, I have notes, and some of my notes are serious.
Yes.
I made little notes. I'm not reading the notes, but I did write some notes down in case I had nothing to say.
Okay. Let's take a question. This is from Hayden.
Hey, Rob. Thanks so much for taking the question.
You're welcome, Hayden.
What I wanted to pose to you is there's some players, a lot of players actually, that want to run the strategy that Omar seemed to be running this last episode of I want to have coals in all the fires. Now, why is it that this backfires for so many players, but not for other players? What is it about Omar that allows him to have relationships and keep people from talking about his relationships with other people? Or do you think this is just going to backfire for Omar? Curious to get your thoughts.
Okay. Hannah, we saw
Yeah.
Omer talking with a bunch of the people that were at the bottom, and seemingly feeling like he had a lot of options. That I feel like if anybody did this in Millennials versus Gen X, and correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of feel like that Zeke had this going on around this point in the game where he's looking to with Brett and Sunday and the people that were on his side of the rock draw in Millennials versus Gen X that people weren't really looking at. It doesn't always work. I think Ricard had this a little bit last season. What is the key to being able to do this?
Well, I think the first thing is a specific that Omer said during the episode, which is that he didn't have a vote for that first big merge vote. So he could play a bit dumber in terms of, he could tell the people at the bottom, I didn't quite know who the vote was. And he has no paper trail, literally. I also think, oh man, what did I think? I just completely lost my second thought. How is Omer doing this? Oh, wow. When Drea stuck her hand and red paint spurted over her arm and she could think of nothing else, that's what my brain just did for a second. I think Omer is building relationships based on not having the vote. Oh, yes, my second thought. I'm also curious. He voted for Romeo at this last tribal, not for Chanel. I'm wondering if you think that were they splitting the votes, or was he just not fully? Okay, they were splitting the votes. Got it.
But interesting for Omer, if you're playing this strategy, don't you want to be one of the people that's voting for the person who's leaving, that you have plausible deniability of I told you what I heard. It was gonna be Chanel.
Yeah, I'm curious how Omer is going to handle it next episode.
Although Romeo votes for High, so I don't know if Omer sort of in the confusion is going to tell no, I voted for Chanel. What are you talking about? It changed last second. But Romeo, they could not tell him that you're actually the decoy. Vote for Chanel, because then he could sort of then tell Chanel what's going on, and maybe they get something going on.
Right. Well, I'm curious how Omer handles this moving forward, because at least for the first vote, to Hayden's question specifically, Omer didn't have a vote. So he was able to keep more of his options open. I also think in terms of Zeke or whoever we're talking about, talking to the people on the bottom, it's a strategy of, Zeke used to say, he specifically would say, hey, I know I didn't include you in this vote. I still do want to work with you. It's all about the approach. It's not, some people go around, we saw early in the season being you're my number one, don't worry. Well, everyone can't be specifically your number one, or why are you not including them? But language is important. And if Omer can tell people, I didn't include you in this vote specifically, but I still want to work with you moving forward, that's different language. We saw Lindsay doing it briefly with Marianne. She was less highlighted than Omer, but she told Marianne, I know you weren't included in this one, but you're still a part of this and I want to work with you. And I think language is key, and not having a vote was helpful for Omer. I'm curious again how it works moving forward now that he's thrown a vote out for Romeo. He also just seems very likable. Omer, seems to be building a lot of personal bonds. He talked about his faith with Mike. It's a baller move. He's using his virginity to build trust. Multiple times he's been listen, you can trust me because I've waited for sex. The show has highlighted it twice. So maybe the trick is,
we haven't seen him say that that's strategy. Do you feel like that that is strategy?
Probably not. I'm for anyone about to come for me for this, I'm mostly joking. But maybe the trick is don't have a vote and don't have sex. That's my answer for you, Hayden.
Should there be a Survivor player that actually tells people that I am a virgin, but then in confessional says I'm lying, I have had sex?
It would make me laugh. And if your goal,
would that buy anything? Because I feel that it's Survivor historically has made a big deal of and Jeff used to famously at the reunion show all right, Eric, so we want to know, are you still a virgin? I think that it might it's probably not something that flies in Survivor 43.
Listen, if your goal going on the show If you're listening, if your goal is to make specifically me laugh, go for it. If your goal is to win the game, I don't know that it's a great strategy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe people feel like, okay, this is such an innocent young man or young lady.
Yeah, I mean, everything out there.
I mean, didn't Justin Timberlake for years say that he was a virgin, and then we found out like I actually was not.
I mean, the Jonas Brothers had their purity rings. We have, a history of stadiums being
rich
filled
tapestry
because of virginity. I think overall, Hayden, if you the truth is perception is reality. So if Omar is able to use the right language and build the right relationships, it's going to come off differently than someone not doing it as smoothly. We've watched survivors of the past try things, the same things that other survivors have tried and failed because of perception. And that's a skill set. It's who they are. It comes down to gender sometimes, whether it works. There's a lot at play. But I hope that answers it, Hayden.
Okay. Hannah, let's bring in a question from Kiana about how referential Survivor has become.
Kiana.
Hey, Rob and Hannah. This is Kiana. I'm calling in because I wanted to talk about Jeff and how he keeps bringing up Survivor 41 with each twist and over-explaining to us how they changed each twist and why they did it. Personally, I liked it better back in episode 1 where they made the changes but didn't explain it to us. I like being able to come to those conclusions ourselves and have some discussion about it. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Hannah,
Kiana.
how are you feeling? We had 2 weeks in a row where Jeff has really reset. All right, in season 41, we did blah, blah, blah. But now we're going to do it again. And now we want to see, should they just do it?
So I think, Kiana, thank you for your question. I think that these clarifications are not for the Rob Has a Podcast audience. We get it. We don't need it. It would be easier for us if we didn't need it reminded. Unfortunately, there's a part of the Survivor audience that does not understand that 2 seasons are shot back to back, that they haven't known before. There are parts of the Survivor audience.
Oh, you think that this is for the person who's like, oh, well, they did this last season. Of course they're going to know.
Yes, I do. Yeah. There are people on, in the Survivor audience that will DM me and be like, are you and Ken together? That was the love story. Survivor, there was a portion of the Survivor audience that, not you guys, not y'all listening.
Not y'all.
Not y'all. But there are a portion of the audience that might not understand as much. I think they're called the casuals, I believe, the Facebook commenters. So I'm not, it's definitely not necessary for you and me, Kiana, definitely not for Rob. I wonder if there's a portion of the audience that's like, thanks, Jeff. I forgot. But I don't know. That's my perspective on it. What do you think, Rob? Because I think it's silly. It takes up time. I do love Jeff looking into the camera and going, the monster might be hungry. History's just a reminder. He's having fun.
He's having fun.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes it. You make a good point of they need to remind people, of course, when they say hey, they already did this. Of course they knew. This show jumped the shark. So I think that, you make a good point about why they need to do this. I wonder if we need to do this at every step of the way.
I don't know. I mean, I know Jeff is also targeting a younger audience. He's really into the kids. Is this sort of the Blue's Clues moment of the episode? I just,
But they didn't really do this in the first half of the season. They did it to open the show, and then they kind of went away from it the whole pre-merge, and now it's sort of been back to back after the merge. Yeah,
it's a lot. Jeff being if they don't find this, I'm gonna be pissed off. Is just Jeff letting us. That's just Jeff being come on, next person, look under the bench. It's not for us. I know that sucks. I want everything to be for me, but this part is not. I hope someone's getting something out of it. But it's a great question, Kiana.
Let's take a question that comes to us from Ben, who wants to ask about Drea switching seats with Marianne at the reward challenge.
Hey Rob, it's the Ben behind the curtain here.
Hi,
At
Ben.
the reward challenge, we saw Marianne draw the grey rock, but then Drea offered to substitute in for her. She said it was about PB&J, and perhaps that was true to some extent, but surely the larger reason was that Drea wanted to search for an advantage. Is there anything Marianne could have done to keep the grey rock without drawing suspicion on herself, or are you just kind of screwed if you get the grey rock at this stage? Cheers.
Okay. First off, so the Drea thing is really interesting to me. Like, I get the sense that really the factors here are that, Drea says that, okay, I don't like peanut butter. But she also is like, I think has like no energy. She said like in a secret scene, she hasn't been able to eat anything. She actually has a coconut allergy, but it's just a coconut.
That explains so much. Coconut allergy?
Yes.
Well, because like Michelle from my season stopped being able to eat coconuts and immediately withered away. It really is detrimental.
Okay. So, but does a coconut allergy predispose you to having a peanut allergy? She just said, I don't like PB&J. Is it possible? Does she have a peanut allergy?
I think she would have said if she had a peanut allergy.
Okay.
Also,
so that
you
being,
can break
that being
open
said,
a PB&J and eat the bread and jam.
Okay. Sorry. So that being said, like, I have no energy. Shouldn't you just eat the peanut butter sandwich?
Well,
or do you think she took a look at Jonathan's on the other
side? On the other side.
Jonathan's on the other side. All right, I'm just gonna save the calories. Yeah.
I mean, what I was going to bring up is there's multiple levels to this, but one is that Jonathan is on the other side, and in a group challenge, for the most part, the team that Jonathan is on, and we saw. I mean, in fairness to another shout out to Omer, he really crushed it, but that's because also Jonathan decided to be a defender in the water at first, and as soon as he switched with Roxroy, he was
doing pretty good against Roxroy. Yeah,
right. She may have looked at her team, looked at the other team, and thought, chances are we're going to lose anyways. Here's an opportunity to. Marianne is young and plays with her emotions. This is a chance to build a connection. You heard Marianne say, "If I ever have a chance in the future, I will happily switch with you." And so it's a time to do that. I think she knew to look for the advantage. The weird thing is, at least what the show showed us, was that she did say in a confessional, that would have been the time to admit, like, I wanted to look for an advantage, or I was trying to build emotional questions. We saw her saying, I really just don't like peanut butter.
I really hate peanut butter.
Well, usually, they ask us questions for like an hour. Maybe she said in another part of the confessional, I also wanted to build Marianne's trust, or I wanted to look for an advantage. I have to believe what we're being told in the confessional. Ben's specific question is pretty interesting, though, which is like, how can Marianne handle this? I mean, I think she could have been like, you know what? No, I drew the gray rock. I'm willing to sit out. You can have the jelly and bread. I know you're just being nice. I'm going to keep the gray rock. It would have drawn some suspicion, but I didn't even consider what a tricky position she was in. I do think Marianne was happy to try to compete.
Well, I think that, yes, I think Marianne was happy to try to compete. If I recall correctly, Marianne was in the group that went to Applebee's. If anything, I think if Marianne wanted to stay, I guess what is unclear is, why would Marianne want to stay out of the challenge? Like, unless that Marianne had the knowledge to know, there's going to be an advantage on the bench. That for Marianne, if she wanted to stay there, she'd say, Drea, you haven't eaten. I went to Applebee's. I insist. You take the shot to try to get even if you don't eat the sandwich, you can eat the potato chips. So you compete.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to, it obviously the thought might have been there's an advantage, but there's been plenty of seasons with sit out benches with no advantage on the bench. Right. In my season, that happened all the time. Mm-hmm. Granted, that was 100 years ago, so it's
and
changed.
It was before they even did it the first time.
Right. I want to believe, because I really like Drea. Drea is one of my favorites. I think I want to believe that it was strategic, both building an emotional bond with Marianne and looking for an advantage. But she weirdly said in a confessional, this is a bonus, but I really just don't like peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter and jelly. Yeah.
I mean, we had people eating snails for the first time.
Right.
Vegetarians.
Yeah, people. You think they're good? You think people like eating the disgusting things, the hermit crabs and stuff like that? No.
Peanut butter is strength. Peanut butter has good calories in it.
Yes. And you like PB&J, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't get the peanut butter. I won like one reward my season, but
when Jeff talked about how it was going to be a taste of home, did you know immediately it was going to be peanut butter and jelly?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
I'm going with yes.
That's what we always yes and yes.
Just because. Sure, I knew it was going to be peanut butter and jelly. I knew Drea was going to sit out. I predicted everything.
You knew everything. Well, I'll tell you somebody who does like PB&J, and that was Mike. Mike is into it. He was very pleased with the reward this week.
They were not cheap with the peanut butter and the jelly. It's oozing.
It's oozing.
Is this the new stew excitement? Are we going to talk about this for the next 45 minutes? The oozing peanut butter and jelly?
It's oozing.
Oozing.
Yeah, boy, the questions this week, the listeners were not cheap. It's oozing.
It's oozing.
Yes, and not only is it oozing, okay? Please allow Mike one more liberty, okay?
Go for
Listen,
it.
guys, I'm licking the paper. I don't care what anybody says.
I don't care whatever anybody says. I'm licking the paper.
He's a rebel.
I'm licking the paper. Don't try to stop it. Mike, no, come on. Mike, that's disgusting. Stop. Don't do it. No. It was oozing.
It was oozing. I was on Zoom once and I turned off my camera to lick a plate and I wasn't on Survivor. So, Mike, I feel you.
Stop.
It was oozing.
Stop. I don't care what anybody says. I'm licking the plate.
He's oozing.
It was oozing.
No one's going to judge you. No one's going to judge you I first watch, I thought he said, I'm eating the paper. And Tori said, go for it. And I thought, all right,
go for it. Do it, Mike. You got to.
Paper.
You got to. Eat it. Eat the paper.
Eat the paper.
But you know what? Like, I was thinking about this later on where, Drea, that she had the idol advantage and she stuck her hand in the paint. And Tori asked her, hey, what's going on there? You gotta why is your arm red? And this was Drea's answer.
I was trying to paint something and then it spreads easily. Oh gosh. So be careful.
Be careful. This paint spreads very easily.
I mean,
it's oozing.
It's oozing.
Oozing. My tweet that did the best, of course it's this tweet, is telling Drea to call it period blood. And I got a lot of response, just for clarity on here. First of all, it was mostly a joke, but also for the men in my comments to this tweet that were like, you don't have your period out of your arm. Men.
You don't know that.
First of all, some women do. Somewhere women have their period out of their arm. Also, it can get placed. I thought that would have been a funny response. I don't think Tori would have questioned it.
Right. Because, then it's sort of like, it's like, okay, this is like, I'm not going to pry.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this is a personal matter. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah. Or I guess she could have said she was like, but my question is this, Rob, and I love Drea. I love that she has a whole collection of advantages. I think she's a badass. Do you think
no doubt
she should have spent more time washing her arm off? It seemed like she was right next to the damn well.
Yeah, well, I would think that if anything,
go to the ocean.
Go to the ocean. But maybe and maybe she washed her hand, but maybe it was sort of like the underside of her arm. She didn't really realize like the wrist was in play as much.
She must not have realized. I mean, it would have been different if we had seen someone approaching. It just seemed like she was right. I mean, they didn't do the red-handed thing away from the well. That would have been tricky. She would have had to run through the forest with a red hand. They did the thing right next to the water well. You had the opportunity to wash.
Yeah, if anything, that was a missed opportunity to put it like by tree mail and then just run through the camp with the red arm.
Red arm.
Yeah, that would have been even better. Even better.
Been funny. That's my pitch next time.
Yeah. Can I also go back to this Beware Advantage? Because I watched the episode again, and I thought there was some false advertising here on the Beware Advantage. Because Jeff tells us, all right, This is going to be a beware advantage, but this is what Jeff says.
So we're going to do it again, only this time it is a beware advantage, which is much more dangerous because if you don't do what it tells you to do, there is a penalty.
Okay, hold on. The beware advantage is a beware advantage, and if you don't do what it tells you to do, there's a penalty. Hold on a second here. So did Drea lose her vote if she didn't go find the idol? Or did Jeff not? Did they not even tell Jeff what the thing was going to be?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't think it worked like that. I think it would have. I think they would have been. She would have read, if you don't stick your hand in the red paint, you lose.
Yeah. Good day, sir.
Actually, I know this is my own voicemail in. I have a question, unrelated, that one part I don't understand, and I was hoping, as the expert, you'd give me clarity. That's the amulet. Sorry, I'm thinking about Drea's. I'm not sorry, actually. I'm thinking about. I'm trying to clarify. I'm trying not to apologize in my life. I apologize when I mean it, and I'm not sorry for asking a clarifying question.
Hey, look, Mike isn't going to apologize.
Listen, guys, I'm licking the paper. I don't care what anybody.
No,
he does lick the paper. Hannah.
I'm going to ask a question. I don't care what anyone thinks. In talking about it's oozing. In talking about Drea's advantages, this amulet thing, do they each have an added vote, or do they have to work together?
No, they put it together.
Vote?
They can basically cash in their 3 amulets. It's like, I guess, going to Dave and Buster's. Basically, you can cash in your 3. It's like a bizarro Dave and Buster's. The more
they cash it in?
you have, the worse the stuff is that you get. So cash in 3 and you get your 1 extra vote. Cash in 2, get a vote steal. Cash in 1, it's idle.
But so they get 1 extra vote between the 3 of them?
Right. They do not get 3 extra votes.
So who is in the most possession of it?
They have to all come together. I don't know if they all have to stand up at one tribal council and say, Jeff, we are all using our thing. And then who writes on the vote? That I don't know.
Because from my point of view, it's not that an extra vote or a steal a vote. Obviously, an idol's powerful, increasing in power, but it's the fact that you have to use it with other people that makes it less desirable. I don't understand. Okay, so they don't each get an extra vote with their 1 amulet.
They get 1 extra. They get 1 extra vote total.
Between the 3 of them.
It's possible the producers never worked it out because they realized they're never going to use the 3 amulets for 1 extra vote.
No, they're going to try to vote each other out.
Right.
And do the steal. Because it feels like, so the steal a vote, if it's 2 of them, they have to together. Because even when people have had these 2 idol halves and things, you give it to 1 primary person.
Yeah.
In the rule book. I guess thank you for clarifying. I think your answer of production just didn't know makes sense, because I'm very because it's one thing if you have
it will never happen. It will never happen in the season that the 3 players will use 1 extra vote.
Okay, because it's one thing if you turn
especially
in
when
1,
Drea has 9 advantages.
Well, if you turn in 1, you get 1 extra vote, but then if you vote someone out, you find 2 in your bag. Makes some more sense. But if they all have to use it together, okay. Thank you for clarifying. That is ludicrous.
Yeah, actually, your way is actually pretty interesting if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah, I'm saying the better way, let me just clarify. The better way to do it would be each of them get an extra vote with their 1. But if they vote someone out, then another one appears. And so then they can trade in their 2 for a steal vote. And then if they vote the last person out, they have 3.
Well, hear me out.
Okay.
So yeah, if you are voting people out, yes, it'll be like it says. But if one of the people could use the amulet at any time for an extra vote, but then if you end up with going to use it, you have it, I have it, and Boston Rob has one. Okay. If you want to use yours,
the classic trio,
the big 3. If you use yours for an extra vote, fine, you used it for an extra vote, but now our thing, do we each have a vote steal?
Oh, so
do our things get better if you use yours?
I guess that's even more interesting than what I pitched. What I was pitching was just if I use mine, okay, so you and Boston Rob each have yours. I use mine. Yours still only counts as one. But then if I get voted out, a second one appears in your bag. But from your pitch.
Do we get 2 votes?
No. A second amulet appears in your bag, meaning you get to steal a vote because you can trade in 2.
Yeah.
And then if Boston Rob gets voted out, then suddenly you have me and Boston Rob are both voted out now. You have 3 amulets. You have an idol.
Yeah.
Or your way where I use my extra vote, then you and Boston Rob both have a steal a vote. I guess this seems like the worst iteration of it, where me, you, and Boston Rob have to come together imagine the steal a vote. The 3 of us have to come together and be like, we want to steal Christian Hubicki's vote, and here's who we're voting for. That just seems
it's very
ridiculous.
Very impractical.
Sorry,
very
Christian.
impractical. Yeah, so I actually kind of like this idea of like, okay, you know you have a thing, and maybe you don't even know who the other 2 people are, but if you use your thing, the other people's things get better. So it's like I'm using mine, but what if my enemies they get more power?
Your cinnamon roll smelly idol.
Yes. Okay, Hannah, I have many more questions for you here from the listeners. Let me ask you one more about the beware advantage. This one comes to us from Dylan. Dylan is in the same state as you, so legally we have to ask his question.
It, yeah.
Okay. Here is Dylan.
Hi, Rob. Dylan from California here. I was wondering what you think would happen if Drea plays her knowledge's power advantage on Mike or Marianne and asks for their idol, and they simply didn't bring it to tribal with them. Do you think that they'd have to be like, I'll give it back to you when we get back to camp? What happens if they get voted out in that case? Does she just be given it by the producers? I think that this is just more evidence that this is one of the worst advantages.
Shots fired. Okay. Hannah, all right. Drea says, Marianne, do you have an idol? And she says, actually, it's the classic case of the bunny rabbit eating his dinner in the mailbox. I left it. I actually forgot to bring it to tribal tonight. I don't have it.
They boat Drea back to camp. They gotta they put her on a boat and they all go back to camp and get the idol.
So she can't lie. Okay. But what if Marianne, or honestly, and there's been many cases before where a person goes to tribal council, does not bring their idol. And does a producer say like, hey, Marianne, make sure you bring your idol tonight?
I know this is behind the curtain. We're behind the curtain. But I guess the production has to insist people bring their idols now.
But okay, wouldn't this freak you out if a producer all of a sudden was telling you before tribal council, like, hey, Hannah, hey, this is very important tonight. Make sure you bring the idol.
Do they tell them before the season starts that everyone should always bring? Is this something that they knew was coming? It's honestly, from California, a great question.
Yeah, perhaps if you were going to do this, if they had all of their ducks in a row, which I think that, as like seemingly like with some of these advantages, like there's a little bit like they're coming up with the stuff on the fly. You would need to change the rules ahead of time to every advantage must be brought with you to tribal council, or said advantage is null and void.
But this is what I'm saying, where like the more twists that you add, in some cases, the less complex or the less at least old school, like mistakes and strategy happen, where like JT doesn't bring his idols. It's almost like if you add too many twists, it's like bowling with the stoppers up. I don't know what do you call the bumpers?
Bumpers, yeah.
Yeah, it's like bowling with bumpers, where because in order for the twist to work, you can't have someone forget their idol or not bring it. So you have to, a couple tribals be bowling with bumpers up. I would think that production would insist that everyone bring their stuff. I guess. Because otherwise is a strategy. On the flip side, let's say that it isn't. Let's say that, last season we saw someone else held on to the idol for someone. Is a strategy this time, I'm not going to bring it unless I really think I need it because of the steal-in advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know
So,
which way do you think it falls?
I
Do you
think
think
that
you can hide
I
it
have
at
a
camp?
No, I don't think you can hide it at camp. I think that you probably I think the producer is going to say to them, you have to make sure you bring your idol tonight. Like if you were thinking about not bringing it, which is unfortunate. Like it seems like that is not the ideal way that you would want to do that. Like if Marianne potentially got tipped off, oh, Dre is going to steal my advantage, I'm going to hide it back at camp. I think they would say, no, you have to give it to somebody. Like I think all the advantages have to be a tribal council.
Or like you said, you're in a confessional and the producer, you don't know about the steal and advantage, and the producer's just like, I think you should bring your idol to camp. And then Marianne freaks out, gets really
it's
paranoid,
like, I'm getting voted out. Okay.
Screws up and gets her thing stolen, or Mike, or whoever it's dealing with. There's the more twists and rules you add, it's a ripple effect, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think that Marianne's natural reaction is, well, I'm definitely playing my idol tonight. It's like, well, but she's going to get stolen before she can play it.
Right. But also, if you think you're going home, you act differently. So it could affect everything.
Yes, I think so. So
Dylan
we'll see.
from California needs to be put on the production team. So
put him on the team.
Map out the ripple effects of everything.
Yeah. Okay. Mention the smelly idol also when you're on the team.
And mention the idea of them going full body masks as different players. Jonathan is Parvati. Like, please pitch that, Dylan.
Yes. We have not talked a lot about Jonathan. Do you have any feelings about Jonathan? Or thoughts?
What specific kinds of feelings do you mean, Rob?
Like, have you, are you like, oh my God, what a specimen here on Survivor? Any thoughts on his game? He's a big eater.
He eats like 18 eggs a day.
18 eggs. It's funny that in the confessional last week, we heard him tell the audience what his average meal was.
Back home, my average meal is 18 eggs, 9 pieces of cheese, and grits.
Okay. And then I thought that this was really wild. Okay. So that seemed like on an average day, like my average meal is 18 eggs.
18
but
eggs.
It seemed like he's just like spitballing, threw that out. Okay. So Jeff asked the group, like, hey, what's a meal that you would get from home? Listen to this.
If a taste of home is worth playing for, then battle for a favorite childhood meal.
Whoa. It's a reward.
18 eggs and 9.
Yeah. I think
this a very specific meal that Jonathan is throwing out.
You're not making 18 omelets. He's drinking 18 raw eggs. I had to have a feeling.
All right, so I don't think you would make I think that you need an omelet requires multiple eggs. I think.
Yeah, but you're not making an 18 egg omelet.
You think he's drinking?
I think he's drinking 18 raw eggs. Here are some actual thoughts on Jonathan. He deserves to be treated more than just Aquaman. I like, both him and Mike have shown a level of self-awareness out there that I think is really needed. I think you can have a lot of skills in Survivor. You can be strong, you can be smart, you can be beautiful. The skill that is most needed on Survivor is self-awareness. If how you are perceived to others is how you are perceiving yourself, if there's not a disconnect there, you're going to do well on Survivor. The more you understand how you're coming across, the better you do. For example, we see Mike this episode talk about how he's not good at calculus, even though Survivor's mostly addition, but I'll give it to him. And so Mike relies on, more of the brainiacs, right? And he's using his social game to get in with the brainiacs. I think Jonathan does a similar thing. We saw him pair up with, I believe, Omer, right? I want to get this right.
Yes.
And I love a classic pair, the good looking macho man with the brainiac guy, classic Survivor pair. We see him do that because he says, he needs Omer's skills, and to be the kind of person who's like, I can pick everyone up with one pinky finger, but to still see value in other people is a good Survivor skill. And I think that that's going to serve him well. What's surprising is whether or not he gets voted out. I know this is crazy, and don't come for me, Jonathan heads That's what I'm calling the Jonathan's dance.
The Jonathan heads, sure.
The Jonathan heads. I could see a situation in which Jonathan loses at the end, which is, I know, don't come for me. But, you know, like if he's sitting next to a guy like Omar, you know, obviously in Survivor history, we've seen, you know, the muscle men kind of out, you know, win against the Brainiacs. We've seen it either way. I could see him eventually getting voted out, but the fact that he's not even on the board means he must really be providing them with a lot of fish, with enough that they feel like we can risk an immunity run, like we can get closer to that number that we need with him because he's providing such loyalty, such care, such fish. And so I think he's doing well in like a lot of different components. And just to be clear, I could see him winning big at the end as well. I'm just saying that I don't think it's I think he's a complicated player, but I think that would be my analysis on it.
So, you know, when you talk about his relationship with Omar, I think that edit-wise, like, he has been portrayed as like, okay, Omar is doing the thinking and Jonathan is the muscle. But, like, it seems like that Omar is not one of Jonathan's, like, top allies, based on, like, we see a little bit more, like, now that they've merged, Jonathan talking to Mike, Jonathan talking to Hai. I mean, Jonathan has a relationship with Lindsay. And I think that if Jonathan goes to the finals with like those other people, like, I don't think it's necessarily sort of like the same idea as where, and I don't know if this is like a 1-to-1, but when we talk about like in your season, like if David and Ken both got to the end, like, and one of the reasons why Ken is like, I got to get rid of David because nobody will vote for me if I'm at the end with David because people will think, you know, he did all of the thinking for our group. I don't know if it's necessarily like if they are seen as that sort of a pair. And I don't even know if Jonathan is thinking about Omar as somebody that he's going to go to the end with.
Yeah, I just think, you know, we see these players sometimes, whether it's Ken or Xander, that the audience may not understand, could lose at the end. So I'm just bringing it up as a possibility because we've seen that archetype where maybe from home, we're like, oh, that's obviously if they get to the end, they win. When in reality, that's not, despite combinations, that's not the thing. In terms of Jonathan specifically, I'm just trying to figure out if it's more that case where people actually think that he could be beat at the end, or if it's the case where his social game and his loyalty, and also, I know it sounds silly, but what he's providing for everyone is making them willing to risk keeping him around till at least, you know, 7 and risking that immunity run, hoping that he'll slip up. I don't know which side of it is, but I do think that I mean, we've seen physical people on the show before, and we've seen kind of, you know, these, you know, golden boys be strong. I haven't seen someone do what Jonathan's doing to this extent in a while.
He's been dominant. Yes.
It is so impressive. Like, again, from the get-go, him dragging the boat sideways, the way he pops out of the water and they were one ball away and just comes back, the way he pulls, it's like watching a professional. I mean, we've had professional athletes on that haven't even done this, but it's like watching a professional athlete go into a little league baseball game and be like, I guess I'll play on this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's been incredible because I think that in the history of the show, like, I think a lot of like the big guys have kind of been flops in terms of like the people who have done very well in the challenges are people that have been sort of like a different body type where, you know, that like the, you know, Aussies and Joes and like Tysons and people like that, like they're not like like giant, like mythical creatures. Like they're like tall guys who are like long and lean. So it's not like that they are doing like amazing, like physical feats of strength in the way that Jonathan has been able to, but also be very dominant in, you know, these physical challenges as well.
Yeah, it is something else to watch. It's definitely giving the audience a show. And I'm just so curious as it shakes out, if he becomes a really big threat when they realize they have to let him go, or if it's a situation of there are combinations we're not seeing. Again, perception is reality. Just to be clear, I'm sure that Jonathan, I'm sure it's not, one half of a duo isn't making all the decisions. I'm just saying he has the self-awareness to realize value in other people, which is a great, it looks good. And also I'm saying that if the perception is one way, then again, the math on Survivor doesn't have to add up. It's Family Feud here.
Yes. He has been very self-aware at times. But as far as like strategy goes from Jonathan, like I think we still have not seen it. And Jonathan as a winner of Survivor would be probably like one of the least strategic winners that we've ever had. Is that fair to say that at the risk of upsetting the JHs?
The J-heads.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I love that nickname. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's interesting. We see in the preview Lindsay sort of getting frustrated with Jonathan. I think what tends to happen when there's a big group like this too is the people in power get confident. And I'm curious how it will shake out for Jonathan, but you can't deny that just watching him in these challenges I don't usually love watching Survivor challenges, but he's made it fun to watch these Survivor challenges.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you one other question about Jonathan. This is from Matt, has a question for you. And hopefully you have a good answer for him. Okay. Here is Matt.
If you were as strong as Jonathan, what would be your favorite way of showing off that strength?
Have you thought about this?
I'm just laughing because this is 100% my boyfriend.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like bright red. What was the question?
All right. Matt wanted to know if you were as strong as Jonathan, what would be your favorite way to show off your incredible strength?
That's a great question. I
think I would just eat everything.
18 eggs.
I
mean, I think I would just like kind of deadlift people. Like I would just pick people up and move people.
And move them. If they did like, hey, put me down. No, you're going over here.
I think it would be fun to sort of be like a small time hero, like super strength, like little old ladies crossing the street, cars honking at her. You just sort of pick up the car. The murmurs around town is that there's a superhero.
Wait, so you would move the car that like is that?
I guess you move the little old lady, don't you? Not the car.
It seems more practical to move the little old lady.
Well, it would have been more practical in the first challenge to turn the boat around and pull it against the current, but he just pulled it sideways. So you're a small-time hero, right? And that's how you use your strength, but you never do it in the obvious way. You don't pick up the old lady and move her. You pick up the car. If there's a burglary happening, you pick up the store, not the burglar. It's sort of like an Amelia Bedelia
store. Yeah.
It's an Amelia Bedelia small town hero is how I would use my super strength.
Yeah, what's his name? The subverter? Subverts your expectations at every turn.
Coming to theaters soon.
Okay. It should be big.
That's how I would use it.
Okay. All right. Let's bring up a question. This is something I've been wanting to talk to you about all day today. Johnny has I've been thinking about this a lot. Okay, Johnny has a great question for you, and it's something you've already alluded to.
I'm still blushing.
Hey, Rob and Hannah. It's Johnny from Toronto, and I have a question about the analogies at Tribal Council. I noticed last night that Jeff started a question to Romeo by wondering if you could compare making alliances to going on a road trip with the people around you. Romeo answers this question completely ignoring the analogy, just talking about tribe dynamics. And Jeff said nothing about Romeo's answer and just went to the next person and said, anyway, back to the car analogy. So has it been Jeff this whole time who's been forcing these insane analogies into tribal council discussions? Because this is the first time I've noticed it, but it was really wild.
Yeah. Is Jeff the drama? Okay, here's the question for Romeo.
So Romeo, it sounds like it's the beginning of a road trip. And whoever this group is, they're deciding we've got room for this many people. Who do we want to take this road trip with over these last days of Survivor?
Okay. I've been thinking a lot about this because this week I feel like was like, I don't know, like, you know, where the frogs in the boiling, the water has been getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter on Survivor. But this week, it really seemed to me like the water is boiling with this analogy talk. And we are just like in like this wild like brainstorming sesh. It's like, all right, who else has something about the car? All right. And people are trying so hard to come up with.
He gives him the answer and he goes, and now we can vote.
Okay. But listen to this what that I have for you.
Yeah.
The capper. Okay. The closing remarks that were so great. Okay. Listen to that. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
We go from okay. All right, Romeo, are we on a road trip? And then it's like, but okay, is it the like Lindsay? He goes back to like hold on, but is it the right car? Are we going to the right place? And Marianne like says something wild about how like but maybe you're in the car and you're not even in the right seat, and maybe you're hanging out.
Lindsay said something about taking a nap.
Yeah, and Lindsay said, well, and they said, well, do you have to be driving the whole time? And Lindsay was talking about how like, yeah, I don't need to drive. Maybe I could take a nap. I don't need to be driving the whole time. And then Hi comes in here at the end.
Yep.
Can I add in? Yeah. If you're in the driver position, you need to know when to let someone else drive. And if you don't know how to let someone else drive, you better be wearing a seatbelt.
Whoa. Did that make any sense?
Let's break this down.
Yeah, break it down for me.
Yeah. First of all, Johnny, I want to answer Johnny's question directly. Have you ever had a teacher in school, Johnny, where you know they love something? And so like in order to do well in the class, you're like, I know they love, you know, when I raise my hand and, you know, mention their favorite movie. That's a little bit, I think it's a little the situation where, yes, Jeff Probst really wants the metaphors. And so you saw how happy Hi made Jeff Probst at the end of the tribal.
Made his day.
You know, it's sort of a situation of like, Jeff is this, you know, they're all fans. Jeff is this figure. You want to give information at tribal council that sort of gets the jury making you seem cool, sort of gets Jeff excited, but doesn't give away your whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect way to do that is this metaphor. So yes, Jeff is the driving force behind not necessarily like forcing people into metaphors.
When you say he's the driving force, are you saying that he's leading the road trip, or are you saying, yeah?
And I'm saying this is not just a car. We're on a bus, a school bus. Your favorite teacher, Jeff, is driving, and there are no seatbelts on a school bus for some reason.
Very unsafe.
Very unsafe.
It's an old school bus from like the 80s.
Old school bus. Jeff, in this episode, Johnny, it was a little bit more obvious that Jeff was like, hey, the driving thing.
Give me this. I need it.
I also think sometimes contestants bring it in, but it's so that the teacher is happy, I think, a little bit, and because it's fun. But High's, let's talk about High's thing.
Can I play it for you one more time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here's Hi again with the big finish.
Yeah.
Can I add in? Yeah. If you're in the driver position, you need to know when to let someone else drive. And if you don't know how to let someone else drive, you better be wearing a seatbelt.
Well, on that note.
Whoa. I love, he goes, Jeff, can I add something in? And Jeff already goes, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please. Let's break this down for a second, because it got a big reaction. I think, first of all, delivery, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, yes. Style over substance in these analogies.
Hi may as well have said, can I add something in? Yeah. Wait, say, can I add something in?
Can I add something in?
No, you say, yeah. Can I add something in?
Yes.
It's like the bus
Please.
is blue and the blueness is like the sky and you better not jump. Like that's what it was.
Oh, no, you didn't. Yeah.
Complete execution on the delivery.
High dropped the mic.
Dropped his own mic and everyone said, yeah. The actual
it was
metaphor,
oozing.
It was oozing. He is right. First part of the metaphor. You have to in Survivor. Let
we
someone
were
else
with
drive.
you the first half. Yes,
because I think it's something that some people who go out there, they're like, I need everything on my resume. I need to always be driving. No, you got to let other people drive. But don't you? But then he's like, if you can't let someone else drive, that means you're still driving. That's when you better have your seatbelt on. Oh, I guess because maybe you're going to crash if you're always having to drive. So you better have your seatbelt on. Wait,
I don't know.
I just figure it out?
Can I say something? I say something?
Yeah.
How about everybody in the car put a seatbelt on? Okay? Because it's the law. It's called buckle up. Okay?
Click your ticket.
Click it or ticket that it's 2022 and last time I checked, everybody should be wearing a seatbelt. And children in the back under a certain age should be in a booster seat.
Yeah.
Marianne, don't be hanging out the back of the car. Get in a seat and put a seatbelt on. How about that?
When you're napping, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think in saying it aloud, I did figure out High's metaphor. If you always feel like you have to be in control, you better be ready to crash. And if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you get voted out.
So if you're on a road trip with somebody and they're like, no, I got this. I'm driving. I'm the control freak. Like,
that's when you should wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, because you've been up for 36 hours. I think we're about to hit a wall.
You should. Oh, if someone else is in charge, you should still be wearing a seatbelt. I think Jeff. See, this is why Romeo's really in trouble. We talked about it an hour ago in the beginning of the pod when this started, is that Romeo didn't give Jeff his metaphor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is surely when Jeff snuffs Romeo's torch, inevitably, he's going to say, guess you weren't wearing a seatbelt. He's going to change his whole thing. He's not going to say the tribe has spoken. He's just going to completely mix it up.
Yeah. And if you have an idol, that's a little bit like having an airbag in your car, isn't it?
Unless someone...
It's like you crashed. You crashed, but it's a good thing you had that safety net. Good thing you had the hidden immunity idol.
Comes and pops that airbag.
It steals your airbag because that
steals your
break
airbag
into your car and steal your airbags.
Is an amulet kind of like a phone charger? It keeps you going.
Yeah, in what way? And then if like somebody like like, hey, you're in trouble. Your battery is low, but your friend has a charger.
Yeah.
But you have an iPhone and they have it. This is an Android charger.
But if you're on the bottom of the alliance.
Yeah. Hannah,
yeah.
I want to just talk about like big picture though. Okay. So the analogies like were not always part of the show. And I think that really just like from a meta perspective. Okay. I really feel like that this came about in the 30s. And I'm wondering, tell me if you disagree with this timeline of events.
Okay.
I feel like that Aubrey plays in season 32, which is really season 31. Okay. They filmed it before Second Chances. I don't know how much analogy is in or metaphor is in season 31 in Second Chances.
Great,
but I would have to imagine there's probably like at least a little. But then in your season, you have, and I always feel like that your season is the season of like so many great writers in the season. You have yourself and Zeke and David and Adam and
Paul Wachter.
Paul Wachter. Does the metaphor game take another step in Millennials versus Gen X?
So that's a good question. Because I'm thinking of now like season 30 before 31. I mean, we did listen. You had Zeke, me, and Dave, who are all nerdy comedy people, and so we were gonna have more fun with the language of the show. And I don't want to take credit for starting the metaphors, or I don't think
But
that's
did
fair.
you like put some more gas in the tank, so to speak?
Well, we were specifically asked to start naming things, renaming things. Trust clusters came from clearly, the survivor gods wanting fun names for things, and I thought it sounded like a cereal. I know that's not a metaphor, but I was goofing around with names, and I think David specifically probably was always good at, again, you want to say things at tribal. You want to seem like you know what's going on, et cetera, without giving things away. And a way to do that is metaphors. And I know Dave was always in particular nervous going into tribal about what he was going to say or not say. He is a television writer, I'm sure, thought of some of these metaphors.
Yeah.
I would turn probably to some RHAP listeners who are more photographic memory historians that could probably, if someone's listening and wants to track the metaphors, I guess my answer would be I don't know. I don't know if we are the beginning of that with certainty, but I do know that we had goofy comedy people ready to play ball.
I think it takes another step. And then Ryan Ulrich comes along in season 35, and I think he really like gives it some juice. Then Christian in season 37, I think adds a lot to it. And then here David Wright comes back. And so does Rick Devens. In that season in particular, who are the pilots? Who are the passengers? This is an airplane. This is who's flying the plane. Where's the plane going? Who has a parachute? We're really like doing a lot of that stuff. And I just think that like we're really like now people who are watching that are coming back and playing in seasons.
Yeah. Do you think it's becoming like an expectation?
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
maybe.
think the lack of the change of scenery in Fiji, like I think it's sort of like, okay, like if Survivor was moving from country to country to country,
right? Because 33 started the Fiji off,
right? I think that there would be like a little bit less of it, but it's like, okay, we're like, how is this different than the last season?
If you can't literally change the location, you can metaphorically change it.
Right. And like, I would love like, this would be like a great project for somebody of like Survivor is like a blank, and like just exploring all the metaphors and analogies in Tribal Council.
The evolution of Survivor is like a child learning to finger paint. The older the kid gets, the better the skills are, but inherently it's the same idea.
Yes, and just be careful with the paint on your fingers.
I was trying to paint something and then it spreads easily. Oh gosh. So be careful.
It oozing. Okay. Hannah, here's a question from me. This week we learned that the merged tribe name is Kula Kula. Do you like that?
I love it. It's better than, what was it, America in season 30?
Well, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
I think Kula Kula is great. I think I'm Kula Kula with Kula Kula.
You're Kula with it. Okay. All right.
Do you like it, Rob?
It's fine.
I mean, Bula Bula is said a lot in Fiji.
Yeah. And what was your merged tribe name? Was that Bula Bula?
No, it was like Vanaka. Wait.
Vanaka.
I don't know. Oh no.
You don't remember.
This is like when I was in Australia and I did Survivor trivia, and one of the trivia questions was about Survivor 33.
Mm-hmm.
You
didn't know it.
I'm too curious. Let's see. Did I get it right? What was the Survivor 33 merge tribe name? I want to say Vanaka, which means like thank you.
Yes, and it was
not easily found on Google. The best merge tribe names. Oh, I don't know.
Yes. Is that hard to find? Survivor.
Season 33 merge name. Here we go. I'm currently rewatching. Vanaka. Wait. I believe it was Vanaka. This is why I suggest. Oh, Adam's in the comments of this Reddit saying this is why I suggested Vanaka. It's paying tribute to the original
Yes. Okay.
Earl's suggestion, which was Bula. They went with Bula Bula, but it was Vanaka.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Adam
So
knows it,
in Survivor Fiji,
Yes.
the merge tribe was Bula Bula. This
But
is
Earl
Kula
had
Kula.
Yeah, this is Kula Kula.
Yeah. Well,
Does Kula Kula mean something in Fiji, or is it just Kula Kula?
Yes, there's a secret scene about this that Omer, that's the official bird of Fiji, and they just named it twice.
Great. Well,
Okay.
Vanaka for your question.
Okay. All right. Well done. All right. Let me bring you a question. This is from Japanson. Okay.
Cool.
Here is a question here that we will play for you. Okay. As soon as I get the tab open once again with the question. Okay. Here we go.
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay, good. Good. Just wanted to make sure you
Seatbelts on.
Okay.
And
All
I'm
right.
driving.
Yeah. Okay. Put your seatbelt on. Ready, set, go. Okay.
Hey,
Some
Hannah,
visual.
Welcome back. Hope you kept your coffee under control this time. My question is simply, when does a player like Tori shift from being a consensus vote to someone that everybody wants to take to the end? It's not that I don't like Tori. I'm just curious about how this works within the whole tribe dynamic and moving towards the end game. Thanks so much. Can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. I've got my coffee. Some things are just for the video. I assume there will be video and audio in this podcast.
Yes, that's the plan.
Yeah. So I gestured to my coffee. For the audio listeners, I didn't want you to feel excluded in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were saying.
Okay. So we have Tori right now.
We do.
We talked to Angelina this week about the idea of like, could Tori at some point shift to a person from, well, we have to get Tori voted out to, we have to take Tori to the end.
Mm-hmm. What did Angelina say?
Well, I really wanted to know from Angelina if she felt like that Tori could potentially avoid being a person who was a 0 vote finalist.
I mean, this is the week you have on the 0 vote finalists, ladies. So I guess this is the expert panel. What did Angelina think? I'm curious. Do I have to listen to the podcast?
She actually was not too bullish on the chances that Tori could potentially muster up a win here.
So she did think, or did she?
She did not. She did not.
No,
she did not think that.
I would agree with my fellow 0 vote finalist panel of the week, Angelina, who I think is great. I think there'd be a tough turnaround.
So when do you think that shift is going to start, where people are going to start looking at Tori as like, hey, we need Tori around because we'll beat her?
That's a really good question. There are enough people where having a wild card that no one seems to trust, at least for a while, it's difficult. It's difficult. It depends what kind of game people are playing as well. I mean, we see a lot of, we have some strategists that might think along those lines. I would think those kind of people would be like Hai or Omer. Maybe even Marianne would think like that. But then we also have some more old.
Marianne gets along with Tori.
Marianne gets along with Tori, and we also have some more old school thinkers. I would say Mike, Jonathan, people who might not necessarily be thinking like that. Might be more thinking of like the alliances.
She doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah, voices like that. I also think I wonder if, because it's clear from an audience perspective, we're being shown very specific moments from Tori. We're being told very specific things. But, when you're out there, I wonder if some of these people, while they don't trust her and, she says that she sent Omar there as revenge, and Roxroy as revenge, and then is like, I did it for you. Like, well, that reads, maybe there's a couple people that think she's won 2 immunity necklaces. It is sort of a behind story. Like, who knows how, it's not just when are they going to do it. It's how obvious is that to the people out there as well. But I mean, I think that she would really have to hang in there till like a top 5 or 6, if you want me to give an exact number.
I'm going to take the over on that. And I think if she makes it through the next episode, if they split into 2 groups of 5 and she makes it through the next episode, I think when we get to the final 8, they're not coming for Tori. And unless like by some fluky thing where somebody wins immunity or somebody plays an idol, I think that if Tori makes it through the next episode, she's in the final 3, or is at least in making fire.
You know, your boldness is what makes you a great podcaster.
I'm being bold, baby. It oozing. It oozing.
Play that oozing.
Yeah. And I'm going to lick the
he's
paper.
He's licking the paper. You beat me to it by half a second.
Yeah.
Go for it.
He doesn't even say it is oozing. It oozing.
It oozing.
It oozing.
Could Tori be a losing finalist?
It oozing.
It oozing. Absolutely.
It losing. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. I think I love Angelina. I think some of the moments where we're shown, even from the jump, being shown her saying that she's sad about Zach getting voted out. You cut back to Zach. You think she's going to say, because this was his lifelong dream and I feel bad that we ended it. But instead she says, he's going towards a warm bed. I mean, we're immediately shown this person in a very specific light. And she's had a huge story. So the idea that she ends up at the end and loses would not be shocking. I do think that her immunity wins and, she's constantly mentioned at the vote. I don't know that I see it like, the next episode, that means it. But I'm a little bit, I'm not as bold as you. I think 5 or 6. And then she's like, oh, of course.
All right. Let's get to okay, let me do one more question. Okay.
All right. Only one. Oh wow.
Only one. Let's see. Maybe I'll see if I can dig up another one. We've covered a lot of ground. Let's go to a question because we still talk about social media. Okay.
Okay. Got it. I love hearing from people. It's so fun.
All right. Here's somebody. Tell me if you can recognize this voice. Okay. Here's Liz.
I will.
Hi, Hannah. Hi, Rob. Love your podcast, especially with Hannah there.
Yes.
So I have my annual question for you. Who do you guys think will win this year's Survivor? And unlike other times I've asked this question, I'm going to say that I wish Marianne and Jonathan would win for different reasons. But I think that Lindsay is the sleeper and that she will win it all. Let me know your thoughts. And again, great to hear Hannah on your podcast, Rob.
All right. Hannah, was your mom setting up a record for downhill skiing while she was recording that voicemail?
Actually, yes, she is at the top of a mountain. She wasn't skiing while she was recording it.
Yeah.
She was at the restaurant deck at the top, and you can hear it. It sounds like she's
we usually advise the voicemailers to go into try to find a low wind area to call in. Yeah.
Not my mom. She doesn't stop for anything.
No.
You know her.
No. She got too much. She's multitasking.
Listen, I want to just address the voicemails we didn't get to before I address my mom's voicemails.
Oh, sure.
I know this might seem like many accuse Survivor, of producer influence, all that stuff. This might seem like a rigged voicemail season. I had my boyfriend, I had my mom. The only one I pushed to the front was my mom. I did not realize this would be everyone from my life.
I'll give you more. Do you want?
I want to answer my mom's question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Then we'll get to the next one. But I think we should answer. I'm not answering. I just listen to the listeners being like, I sent in 15 voicemails, and she goes blood over voicemail. Should we answer it? I
Please. Who's going to win?
Times. 1 second. Who's good? Well, my mom said she wishes. I believe. Did she say? Marianne and
Jonathan. Yeah.
And she thinks Lindsay is the sleeper.
Yes.
If we have another under-edited female winner.
Well, I do believe Lindsay said in this episode that she doesn't want to drive because she would like to sleep at some point. So she technically she's literally a sleeper.
She's literally sleeping.
On the road trip.
I mean, I would like to say, first of all, that like the diversity in front of the camera, chef's kiss. We have all these stories.
Yes.
I hope that the show continues, as they have been, to diversify behind the camera, so we are able to tell every sort of winner story. Wink, wink, season 41. But I really hope this is not. I really want to hear from the winner, whoever the winner is, and
yes.
I'm not. And the moments we've seen of Lindsay, she seems like she's in the know. She's in the alliance, but I don't. Oh,
I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you hear shouting?
No.
Is that going to be picked up?
Continue.
Okay.
Continue.
There.
I did hear a little bit.
There's a bit of shouting in my building. I do not live in the middle of the woods like you do.
Shouting or moaning?
There's some sort of shouting happening. I don't live in the middle of the woods in North Carolina like you do.
Yes,
so I have city sounds. With that, listen, I have nothing against Lindsay. I think she seems like she's in the know. She's in the alliance. We see her handling Marianne. You know, she obviously has been referenced as sort of a Jonathan ally member. I would be disappointed to not hear from the winner throughout, or at least check in with the winner. You know, I don't want obvious quote unquote winners edits, but I want to hear from the people that end up at the end, like how'd they get there? You know, not being referenced. So I'm not sure I agree with my mom on that.
But Hannah, wouldn't this be the ultimate shout out to season 41 if Jeff tells it the final tribal council, all right, Lindsay, she was somebody who we wanted to, just like we did in season 41, we had a winner that we didn't show you a lot about her. So we thought it would be fun if we did it again because these people haven't seen this season.
So once again, the woman who won will not talk as much as the men who lost next to her.
But it would be fun for these players because they didn't get to see it happen already.
Yeah.
Don't you want to see how new players react to the same thing? Think about it.
It would be so great. I think every season, man or woman, we should just never hear from the winner. It should always be a shock. It should be like, remember that person you never, you know, the guys who sat next to them, or you knew their story. What if the winner's like, I don't even know their name? In terms of who could win, and who might win, like my mom, I'm a big fan of Marianne. I thought something she said this episode might also be her downfall in a final tribal situation. I'm not saying Marianne can't win. I listed her as my breakout star, so don't come for me, Marianne heads.
The MH,
head. All the thing is just their name in the head. I think she said that emotion can be weaponized
as a weapon. Yes. Who says emotions can't be used as a weapon?
And as someone who has been in that position, I think the trouble is emotion as a weapon is a double-edged sword, if it's any weapon, where, you know, it can be used, but you also could find yourself in a situation where someone on the jury goes, I comforted you, and then you backstabbed me, or, you know, you cried. And then, so that would be my concern for Marianne, one of the people my mom mentioned. I've talked a ton about Jonathan. I mean, you know, going into this episode, I really had a favorite in Drea. I think she's got her collection of advantages. She's so like calm and cool and seems to be navigating well. As like, that would be like in my mom's like wishful thinking. If I could pick who I wanted, knowing none of them that are left, I'm like, I would love to see a Drea win. I think that she, you know, she's really like, I love how she's like, I don't actually, these aren't my, you know, everyone else is like, I've built this connection. She's like, Mom reminds me, this is not my family.
This is not my family. Yeah, I just met these people.
I just met these people like 3 days ago.
Not even a confessional. No,
she said it in front of everyone.
This ain't your family. Yeah.
This isn't your family. I think in terms, you know, I think people who are starting to emerge, Omer being one of them, a big one for me. I think we're really shown him playing well. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, we see him keeping his options open, being able to connect with the people on the bottom. We see less arrogance from him about being in power, which is important. We've got in his personal story. We've watched him make human connections, but we've also watched him defend his allies. A lot of people sort of have dropped their allies. I think Hay is really is very smart and strategic. We've also seen him not be able to protect his allies as well. Drea, who is smart and strategic, not sticking by Romeo. So we've really seen Omer remain to his allies, which I think is a big thing for a winner. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I also think Mike had a great episode. I wasn't the hugest fan of his sort of Chanel tunnel vision, and we can talk about it, but in terms of, we've seen character moments from him, we've seen he's likable, he has the self-awareness to be like, I'm not the calculus guy, like, which I think is a reference to like, there are brainier people, but here's the skills I'm bringing to the table. And, you know, those are sort of the people popping out for me, and why I think I wouldn't be surprised by a couple of the people winning. But it again, self-awareness is key. And we've seen, you know, in the Mike Omer scene, it's highlighting Mike's empathy is what the thesis statement of that scene is supposed to be. But do you agree, or are we on different pages again? I was completely wrong after my last podcast.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a lot of people.
I guess I mentioned everybody, but I'm highlighting as winners picks more Omer with some, you know, dark horses of Mike and Drea. High, you know, I guess high, smart, strategic. I see what his downfalls might be, though. Marianne would be a fun winner. I could see what some of her downfalls would be, which is why the sort of Omer, Mike, Drea camp for me is a little bit shinier. I guess I'm mentioning a lot of people.
Because there's probably, of the 10 people that are left, you could probably make a case for 6, maybe 7 of them to go on to be the winner. And there's nobody that's like my top 2 that I feel like that Omer is in a very good spot. I think that would be very interesting. High, I think also is somebody who would be up there. I don't feel like I think that Drea is probably my pick out of the women, but I will say I do not think we'll have a woman winner for the second season in a row. Not that I'm rooting against it, but I feel like that Drea is I think is going to have a fall.
It does seem like she's being led into a fall. That's just, you know, we had
and Marianne
5 or 6 men win in a row. So I'm like, I have feelings. This just sounds like I'm in therapy. Look, I have feelings.
Sure, but after 0% for, you know, for like the back half of the decade, then, you know, if you have a year where you have 50% are women, you know, that's a lot of progress.
We don't get to count this. So now we're at 50%. Okay, it doesn't. I think my wishful thinking
in the 40s. In the 40s. Well,
in the 40s,
well, no, well, Tony, yeah. In the new era, we drop the 4, keep the 1. This is a new era, Hannah.
So all the gender inequalities wiped away.
Wipe it away, okay?
Wiped away. Yeah,
I think Drea, I think of the women, has the far away the best. I just don't think that. Again, I don't want to fall into the trap with Erica last season. Lindsay, I just think that we've seen so little of her. I think she's been the most invisible person that's left out of this group of 10.
Listen, if Lindsay is the winner, congratulations to Lindsay. I would not be angry at a Lindsay win at Lindsay. I would be angry that the storytelling didn't support her.
It's just hard to, even at this point, Erica had already had the whole hourglass business and stuff like that, like where Lindsay has had almost nothing.
What I like about the storytelling of this season and more is that we see ups and downs of almost everybody. I'm just, when I watch it, I think about what is the overall story. Like, I really liked Roxroy's Hourglass story about his family and being able to see beauty. I really like Roxroy. Unfortunately, like the first half of the season, all we did was hear other people call him annoying, essentially. And I'm not saying he was or is. I actually really like him. He just seemed like a dad who, was learning to switch out of that. But like, it's stuff like that. I'm using Roxroy as an example of like, I'm weighing what story we're being told. And that's what I'm narrowing it down to. I'll have to,
it's hard. It's
hard.
a wide open field. Let me play you one more voicemail.
Yeah. Call me. Oh yeah. You know me. I like the storytellers. So my favorites aren't necessarily like, oh, this is for sure a winner. Marianne, breakout star. Anyways,
breakout star. I just feel like that she's the person she's not the person who wins. She's the person who's like the first. If it's like a proper reunion show, she's the person that is like, getting all the questions at the reunion show. Like, I think she ends up being the star. I don't think she ends up being the winner.
I so appreciate her. Yeah, I appreciate her on my TV, and you could make a case, honestly, for the storytelling for a lot of these people. It's the last time I podcasted with you, I went hard and confident, and I still am trying to, but the last time everything fell apart as soon as I podcasted.
Okay. All right. Let's take one more question. This is from Emma. It's a question about Marianne.
Hi, Rob and Hannah. It's Emma. I am just calling to say that I've noticed some similarities between Hannah, your gameplay, and the role that Marianne holds on her tribe. Just seeing a little bit of that bubbly, friendly personality, but also some of that anxiety. Just really interesting to see the development of that type of role. And I just wondered if you had anything to say about that or had noticed any of that. Also, I just want to say, Hannah, that we are alumna of the same high school improv troupe. So I love to see that
high school improv troupe
there in Survivor. So thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I missed her name of all the names
Emma,
to miss.
Emma.
Oh my gosh.
You're in a high school improv troupe?
Needs improvement.
Mm-hmm. That's the name of it? Yeah.
So yes, I was cool in high school. So yes, I never went on a date in high school.
Yes. That was like Marianne also, right?
Yeah, I would. Okay, so the funny thing is, or maybe I find it funny. I was talking to a friend about Marianne, because Marianne is 24, I believe, which is the age I played Survivor at. I'm now 30. Spoiler alert: time has passed. And I was saying,
hourglass has not been smashed.
Hourglass has not been smashed. I have aged. And while I think we do have quite a few differences, I don't know that I was so like, she just has this like raw honesty that I really is pretty brave. But I was saying to my friend, I was like, I really do see some of my 24-year-old self in her, just sort of like the unapologetic, like, enthusiasm for Jeff, for the show, for the other people, being like, I think she even mentioned cool kids this episode, just everything kind of relating to like the inner high school needs improvement, nerd self, even into adulthood. But it's funny because I'm like, I see a younger version of myself in this person on TV, and maybe you can clarify, because you watched us both as TV characters, how much similarity there is. But I will say that, like, over the past like 6 years, there are lessons I've learned, and it makes me in some ways relate to some of the older players. Older Jeff, Mr. Jeff would roll his eyes at the word older at 30.
Yes,
but
later days, yeah,
just sort of the like being able to like over the past 6 years like step outside myself and like notice like others and and just like listen a bit more, which someone could listen to this podcast and be like, she's interrupted Rob like 15 times.
No, I interrupted you. That
But yeah, it's weird because I really see my 24-year-old, like aspects of me at 24 in her. And I've also realized that maybe I've become more cynical or in some ways happier and more confident and self-assured as I've gotten older. And so I feel like I'm like watching like a younger version, but I don't know. You watched it as a 3. I did have this conversation with someone.
Yes. Was it your mom?
No.
Okay. And what did the person say that you were having the conversation with?
They did not watch me on Survivor back then, so they didn't.
Okay. So comparisons of Hannah and Marianne. Well, while I feel like that in some ways you are similar, I also feel like in some ways you are opposite. Where that I feel like that you are both very like fun loving and like have like a lot of excitement about the experience of being on the show.
Sure.
Like I feel like that in a lot of ways that you are very much wondering like, am I doing the right thing? Is this right? Does that make sense? Sort of like trying to be very much making sure that you are not like making a misstep. I feel like that Marianne kind of doesn't have that, almost like in the complete opposite direction, where I feel like that Marianne almost never questions, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I making a misstep? She is just like acting, maybe even like impulsively, to where like she is just like blurting out like a tribal council. Like she was the one person that they showed at the tribal council where she like is like, oh yeah, it's like I'm in the car and I'm like hanging out the back, and that was like the one that everybody started like, yeah, okay, sure, and just like went on to the next thing.
That's interesting. I was curious from an outside perspective. I also think I really prided myself on being an outsider at 24. Like my version of the cool kids and the nerds and weirdo had a lot more like, it's weird to say about Marianne, but a little bit more joy and humor to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of being accepted by people who have always been accepted was like, I think I was rebelling against that, where this episode, and I love the like the rawness from her. She was genuinely upset that like, these quote unquote cool kids, which we're talking about like Mike and Jonathan or something, weren't accepting her.
Right.
I did question things probably a lot more in it with a neuroses. I also didn't find myself in her position at the merge. And I think it was a bit more, I made a lot of social faux pas, but like a little bit of the like questioning did help me navigate it. But
can I going back to the room for improvement? Is that the right
needs improvement?
But I almost feel like that you like in your journey to Survivor, like kind of found your people along the way, and then were able to, I'm sure, like be able to like with your people talk about like the Figgies and Taylors of your and Jays like in the real world. Which like you knew, okay, that's not necessarily my people. Whereas like I feel like for Marianne, it seems like that she almost like has never found like her group in the real world, based on the little bit that we know about her from the show. And it seems like that it has always been a struggle for her to find her tribe, her people, and she has not yet found that outside of Survivor.
That's really interesting. I two things. The first thing is I have no doubt that I actually think Survivor is going to be in that way a very positive experience for Marianne. I think a lot of people are going to relate to Marianne. A lot of people are going to reach out to her and relate to her. And I think she's going to both hear from and find people that she relates to in that way because of Survivor. Like I think her honesty and rawness is going to resonate with a lot of people. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing, I think that like at 24 through like comedy things and nerd things, I had found that. And so when I did meet, like Jay and I got along wonderfully because I didn't ever feel like I needed Jay's approval or, you know, Taylor I wasn't looking for validation from these people because I knew who my people were, you know, like Zeke and Mari. And
you found them in the game. And I'm not sure necessarily that Marianne has found her people even in the game.
I don't know if it's because there aren't those people out there or because she's still learning.
Zach was her person.
That was, in that way, I could relate to her, her honesty. I thought that was really funny. I think all your observations have highlighted pretty astute differences between the two of us. It's interesting that I just put it on like a younger, older version of myself, but like talking it through with you, I guess you are right. I guess the differences are pretty apparent. But the joy and excitement is a thing that I can relate to. And that's sort of like not apologizing for like giggling at Jeff Probst or being herself. And I think she's I think she's really, really great television.
Yeah. If I could just like maybe like crystallize it a little bit. And again, this is like I've never spoken with Marianne. I don't really know, but I feel like that, you know, in a lot of ways that you are like hyper self-aware. Like I feel like that maybe Marianne lacks some self-awareness. And like, I think I see it as the biggest difference between the two.
If I am at all hyper self-aware, it's only because I spent years not understanding why I was getting the reaction socially that I was getting and wanting to understand that. Like I had a friend I had a friend recently be like, you're so like good at like chatting with strangers. And I'm like, that's because I have so much social anxiety that I've developed skills to cope with that. And that is that I can be quick and I can be witty and I can go up and approach a stranger because I'm so anxious. So if any of that has developed, it's only from an anxiety or a lack of that.
I had such a great time watching you at a party one time. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast when you just like was telling this guy a whole story about how you were a gymnast and then you had like this amazing career. I was like, oh, this is incredible.
Yeah, Rob and I were at a party one time, and I said I was a national champion.
And then
gymnast.
the guy wanted to like look up your Instagram, and you were like having to scramble.
I'm not saying they're always great social moves.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a really positive experience for Marianne in terms of finding people.
And Hannah, her whole pregame press was like, I'm doing it for the weirdos. I'm showing people you can be weird. And like I'm sure like Marianne is like incredibly popular and is gonna like if she has not found her people, like they are finding her at this point.
I hope no one mistakes this for us saying Marianne doesn't have a bunch of friends. I'm just saying
I have no idea. I have no idea what if she has a lot of friends in real life or not.
If I'm reflecting anything back, I'm just saying that like I think like hearing from people who relate to this specific episode, her getting teary-eyed and feeling like an outsider, I think hearing from all the people that are going to relate to that is going to help her feel a sort of self-acceptance that the next time she's in that situation, she's not going to need Mike to like validate.
Yeah. And if anybody should know about not having a lot of friends and being an outcast and shunned by the cool people, it's me.
It's me.
Yeah.
How did this spiral into this?
I mean, like I was,
we're just going off of what we're seeing in Marianne. What Marianne is telling us.
Sure. Okay.
That's interesting. We have now psychoanalyzed Marianne.
And ourselves. Yeah.
And ourselves.
Yes. Okay. Hannah, we have some social media to talk about. This is a very fun cast on social media.
Talk about social media.
Okay.
Apparently they can talk and we can't.
Apparently they can talk. Okay. Early on in the episode, we heard Mike talk about how, there was the great scene you mentioned between Mike and Omer, and he was learning about things, about Omer's religion. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he said, hey, people, we're not all that different. Okay. And there was some talk about Mike as an older guy. But I'm wondering if Mike set the stage for Survivor's next great product placement on Survivor, which is...
I'm representing the over 55 crowd, the 15% discount at Denny's crowd.
Okay, the over 55 crowd is the 15%.
Oh, 15. I thought it was
15% discount at Denny's crowd. What do you think about a merge feast sponsored by Denny's?
And anyone over 55 gets 15% more.
We've got moons over my hammy. Pancakes.
Didn't Denny's
bacon,
try to
coffee? Yeah.
Oh no, IHOP became well, the Denny's idol can smell great, and the IHOP's idol can smell putrid. Sponsored by Denny's.
Yeah, they're gonna drag the IHOP idol. Mike tweeted out tomorrow: 18 eggs, 9 pieces of cheese, and a 15% discount. I'm in. And he put the Denny's logo there.
Listen, guys, I'm licking the paper. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. Look at the paper.
It's oozing.
Yeah.
Oozing.
Yeah. By the way, when you get 18 eggs and 9 pieces of cheese, I guarantee also.
It's oozing.
It oozing.
Oozing.
It oozing. Okay.
It's oozing.
Mike is a little bit of it's a little shameless on. I mean, he was the last couple of weeks he was pitching Applebee's.
I have not seen Mike's Twitter. I'm gonna have to go. Is he sponsored? Is he getting like endorsements for tweets?
I think he's going for them. Yeah, a little shameless on the Twitter, but been fun. Okay, all right. Then we got another one for you. Okay. We haven't gotten to talk about somebody who I thought that actually also, gave me some Hannah vibes. And that was Lydia. We haven't gotten to talk about her. Now, you binged the whole season. Had you been aware of Lydia on social media?
Sorry, can you say that again?
You binged the whole season. Okay. You binged the whole season. So had you been keeping up with Lydia on Twitter?
Occasionally checking in on Lydia on Twitter. I actually met Lydia before the season started.
Oh.
I've met Lydia. She's very confident. I thought, oh, this is someone I'll relate to. I'm like, I was not that confident and cool at 22. She is very self-assured in her passions and what she wants and who she is.
Yeah. Okay. So Lydia Chlamydia, that's her name on Twitter.
Yes, I've heard her Twitter has become quite the show.
Very popular. Okay. So she was very disappointed to know that she was 1 week away from being voted out on 420 on Survivor. People were telling her when she
it's not
was
the jury
wishing,
heartbreak. It's the 420 heartbreak.
Happy 420 to all those that celebrate, she said. If they delayed the premiere a week, somebody said to her.
Lydia is much cooler than I was. I won the Dare essay contest in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not celebrating 420 at 22.
Okay. So Lydia was, if they delayed the premiere a week, she could have been voted out on 420. She said she was literally devastated.
That's funny.
Wouldn't it ruin 420 for everybody? Yeah, it might.
It might.
It might have dampened the holiday. Okay. All right.
We get the Lydia boot.
Yes. Okay.
I was sad watching that back. I could have used some 420 magic.
Yeah.
I thought that was a hard thing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Watching, I think it was oh my gosh, who was it?
Yeah, and ironically, she if she get voted out on 420, and she got high from his vote. She got
Hyde
Hyde.
betrayed her. Yeah.
Yeah.
On 420. Who was it that almost was the merge, not a merge boot last season?
Merge. It was going to be. So it was between Evie and Sydney on the vote.
Evie, yes. Evie tweeted out that she thinks it's really hard to watch someone make the merge, meet everybody, and then not make the jury. I know this has been a thing throughout Survivor, but it is tough. It's
tough. It's not easy.
She didn't get high with high.
Okay. So Lydia also posted about she has a new hat. Okay. Did you know about the BFJA?
I feel 98 right now.
Yeah. Okay.
What is that?
Lydia said earlier this season that she claimed that she had the biggest, fattest, juiciest butt in the history of Survivor.
Oh, okay. I'm like the grandma. This is why, I can't relate to like
Survivor social media has got wild. Okay, you used to talk about puppies and butts. Now Lydia, she just talks about her own butt and calls it the A word.
If everyone goes follows me at Hannah Lilnesson, I'll start tweeting about BFJAs. So what about this BFJA?
So she's talked about it all season, and then she just tweeted, "Thank you to the chlamydia-nators." Okay, that those are her followers. Those are basically they're not Lydia heads, they're chlamydia-nators. Thank you to the chlamydia-nators that DM'd me to buy this hat. I'm wearing it with pride. And the hat says, "Ask me about my huge A word."
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the merch she's shilling?
Yeah.
Selling?
Is that flair? Do they wear that at Applebee's?
Not the 15% discount crowd. They're like me. They don't know what that means.
That's Denny's. Yeah.
I know that's Denny's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This deep dive into Lydia's social media is making me I am out of the hipness for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's bring it back. Okay. So let's go back to remember Gabby on Survivor, David versus Goliath, and then some people thought that was you.
Yeah, I remember. I am friends with Gabby. I remember Gabby.
Yes. And so so Gabby was shown in the episode with Christian getting the Consumer Cellular. Also, I think you get a 15% discount with Consumer Cellular if you're
are they not being? They're getting away with not paying them for a commercial. Mm-hmm. It's wild. Mm-hmm. Commercial actors get paid quite a bit for residuals.
Yeah. So Gabby tweeted out about how that she was talking about how I feel like in every episode I would choose one iconic moment to tweet about. And this episode was Marianne's scream while jumping in the water. Did you notice that when Marianne was just screaming going into the water? Like somebody was chasing her?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes, I absolutely
She might have been scared. That. Yeah. And then Gabby says, never mind. It was when I was in the middle of tweeting this and my friend I was watching and said, "Hey, that's you." And I looked up and I was on the television. Not that there's ever a normal time to see yourself on TV, but this was a particularly inconvenient date to do that on.
Why was it an inconvenient date?
Wow.
Oh.
Remember? Yeah.
420.
Yeah, remember the Lydia thing? Yeah.
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 They were in a Verizon commercial about friendship, her and Christian.
Consumer Cellular.
Is that a sponsor of this podcast too?
No, but I mean that's Consumer Cellular. I think it's kind of like
who is the next pair to be featured in the Consumer Cellular?
I think it's going to be you.
Me and who?
Yeah. Is it always a pair? I don't think it's always a pair. Although I do think they already profiled Adam from your season, so they probably won't go back to the well.
You're telling me that I don't get to be a spokesperson for Consumer Cellular?
Yeah.
That's the real loss.
Yeah. They should tell Mike about Consumer Cellular because Consumer Cellular, I think that's really like their demo. Consumer Cellular and AARP special member benefits. That it's for people that look. If you go to the website, guess who their spokesperson is? You'll never guess. It is a A celebrity.
Walker.
No,
Paul
a
Walker.
celebrity. A big celebrity.
Big celebrity. Biggest celebrity I could think about. Rachel LeCoe.
Ted Danson. Okay?
Oh, I'm rewatching The Good Place. Okay.
AARP members receive not 15% off, but 5% off.
Wow. I was just listing people from our season. I wasn't close.
No, not yet. But anyway, so that's Consumer Cellular. All right, let's go to Applebee's. Okay, like one of the Survivor 22 cast members. Who do you think, Hannah, went to Applebee's this week?
Mike.
No, it was not Mike.
Well, Jonathan.
No, he better bring his credit card. He's going to need more than a few Simply Irresistibles to feed Jonathan.
I'm going to need to.
Jonathan better win the $1 million because food is expensive.
Him out of house and home.
Yeah. It was Omer went to Applebee's.
How was his experience at Applebee's?
I don't know if he updated it, but he put on Instagram. Finally got to try at Applebee's from iftar tonight. No thanks to that big giant ball. Hashtag Applebee's. Hashtag Survivor 42. Hashtag Raspberry Lemonade. Hashtag and I guess that must have been as part of Ramadan.
This makes me like Omer even more because I missed out on the helicopter reward my season. And so I made Will Wall promise me that we would go to and have a helicopter, do a helicopter ride after the show. And we did. And I love that Omer went to Applebee's, sort of an FU to who actually won after the show. That makes me like him a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then let's see. I got one more for you. Okay. Swathi. Remember Swathi?
I do. I was her number one ally.
You were?
Yeah, she told me.
Okay. Swathi. Well, why did she tell you were her number one ally?
Wasn't that her thing? She told everybody?
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. Well, you said you knew Lydia. Like I thought everybody.
I met two of the lovely people on this cast.
Okay. All right. Swathi said, who's hotter, me or at Zach Wirt? Hype me up in the comments. Hashtag Survivor.
Well, this is clearly a question for you.
Who's hotter?
Go for it.
Boy. Swathi got further in the game, but Zach has been thirsted for by contestants that are not even on the show. Or he was not on the show. Marianne was thirsting for him. So until Marianne says that Swathi is like primo dating candidate, I'm gonna say Zach.
All right.
No offense to Swathi, but nobody who's out there is thirsting for Swathi. Only Zach.
That is a bold thing to ask social media.
Yeah.
I know she's probably joking.
This cast is wild. I told you.
I was too scared to talk about Survivor my season, let alone be like me versus this person who's hotter.
Right. Who's hot? That check out my butt. This cast is give me free Applebee's.
Thirsty and unapologetic. As you pointed out, I'm neurotically being like, how am I coming across? This cast is just like, this is who I am. Yeah. I don't apologize for it. And apparently it's all over their social media.
Sitting back and like, wow, look at these new survivors. They're taking over social media.
It's a new era.
Yeah.
I do keep repeating that it's a new era and how hard it is to sort of justify it being like day 3. Is that what it is?
Yes, that is what it is.
Okay.
I had one other one that was a sound clip that I pulled for you. So Jeff really wanted to set the stage for that they're going to negotiate for the rice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And this is what Jeff said when they walked in.
Clothes are hanging. Jonathan almost looks human.
Why do you have to say Jonathan almost looks
what does
human?
that mean? Wait, play it again. Play it again.
Clothes are hanging. Jonathan almost looks human.
Yeah.
Jonathan, meaning he's not as buff? Is that a dig at him?
I think it's like he's like losing weight. I feel like he was getting like in even better shape. Like did he have too many muscles that he didn't look human and now he does?
He almost looks, instead of like a Greek god, like he's just sort of like come down, he's been banished from the clouds and he's come down to earth and is withering into human form.
Yeah. I didn't get that one.
Is that not how you interpreted it? How did you interpret it as?
That he was. I don't know. Like I guess that's what it is. It just seemed like that was like kind of mean to Jonathan.
He's picking on. Maybe Probst just has a crush like we all do.
Yeah, or maybe now that he's like a little bit now, maybe Jeff feels like he can then
pick
bully
on
him. Yeah, because he already calls him Mr. Jeff, and so maybe Jeff is feeling like okay, like I'm his superior officer.
What is this Mr. Jeff thing? How many of them are calling him Mr. Jeff?
I think just Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that was the reason given, or is it just
because he felt like it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Jeff. I think everyone should call him Mr. Jeff now.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that Jonathan,
it's very like elementary school teacher.
I know. It's funny because Jonathan at one point, I think this episode was like, if I can eat more food, I can finally do better at the challenges again, implying that he's weaker for the challenges.
It's not his fault that he's losing. Yes.
It's not his fault that he's still not losing, but I like the idea that everyone else becomes sort of emaciated survivor, weak people, and Jonathan just has a moment where he feels like what it's like to be human.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if he's can just get his strength back.
At least that's how I hear the sound clip. I feel like clothes hanging. Jonathan looks human.
He does have giant clothes. Have you noticed that about Jonathan?
No. Isn't he just giant?
He's giant, but also his clothes are giant. Like his clothes are actually like I wondered if he wanted to like if the giant clothes make him look smaller.
Does he have Jonathan?
Wait, are you Googling, does Jonathan have giant clothes?
No, I'm just Googling Jonathan so I can see an image. So I'm like, I don't know. His
clothes are so big. Like he's a giant, but you would think his clothes would be very tiny. He's a giant, but he has like clothes that hang off of him.
Oh, he does have these sort of big pants. You know what? He has sort of like big.
You think he's lost so much weight? Do you think he's lost? That the clothes fit normal at the start of the season?
Pants. I think these are just what clothes look like on a giant person. I would like to thank anyone who is still listening to this podcast. It started very intense with the observations, and now we're discussing.
Yeah, all right. You think we lost the audience? We lost the audience?
I don't think we lost the audience. I just think the content has changed.
Yeah. All right.
2.5 hours in. No, I'm just
all right. Okay, well, let's then. Hannah, is there anything else that you want to say about Survivor 42?
What do I want to say? Any last? I once again appreciate the cast in the midst of a lot of fake blood and how many twists are in the game? How many twists are in the game at this point?
There's a lot. It's a lot. You got to stay on your toes. That's the new era.
Are you liking the season? Is this a positive
I love the season
for you?
Yes, yes. I've been very happy with the season. I feel like this week's episode was just kind of like a straightforward boot with it being Chanel. That's why I kind of wish if they were going to do the thing with splitting the tribes up, they should have done it this week. But other than that, this has been, I think, a great cast, great season, loving Survivor 42.
Yeah, I think that I think I agree with you. I think it's been really fun. Like Tori being immune is been surprising to a lot of us, and
it's very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, they all have this whole shot in the dark, and who is willing to take a shot for immunity and who's not willing to take the shot.
Sure.
I think that it's made every vote. It's almost like you have to treat everyone like they could have an idol. And so that's made it a little bit, even with these easy votes, a little mixed up. I think what I was saying about Tori, though, is if it was further in the numbers, it might mix it up a little more. But like we've talked about, they've had a couple options each time.
Yeah,
it was a straightforward episode, but also an unintentionally funny one, I thought, with the whole paranoia discussion. I thought that was just like... really, there was something funny about watching a bunch of people get angry at someone for knowing he was on the bottom.
It's like, he doesn't like that, we're talking about voting him out. We should vote him out.
I thought it was interesting. Did you think Chanel's play to just try to stay calm was the right one?
I mean, I think so. I mean, that from what Chanel is hearing, like, okay, it's going to be Romeo. Romeo's acting crazy. Okay, all right, it's good. Let me sit back. Like, I don't have any issue with how she played this round.
Yeah, no, it's I like that she's like, I'm playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah, she said in the exit interview, she actually said that backwards.
Touche.
Yeah.
You're hungry.
I mean, I feel like if you're Chanel and it's like, all right, well, like they always say to you, and this is like when I went in Survivor All-Stars, it's like, they're like, okay, I was being given a name, but nobody else was really seemingly feeling very paranoid. Like, obviously the mark was me. If you're Chanel, it's like, okay, they're telling me Romeo. Romeo's freaking out. It makes sense that the vote is going to be Romeo. Why am I going to go and really try to mess this up?
Yeah, I think it is. There are certain positions that are hard to kind of claw your way out of, and I guess my last question for you would be about the preview, right?
Yes.
This man's alliance, the men.
Yes.
Do you think that's gonna? You're as a man.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's going to stick?
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and you were telling me how you really hope that was going to happen finally on Survivor. That you'd like to see that play out.
I would, if you know anything about me, it's that
I actually don't think it's going to stick. It seemed like that in watching that back, that it's coming from Roxroy. It seems like that Roxroy, like I thought that maybe like the guys were like trying to like get Roxroy on board. It seems like Roxroy is pitching that. I think it's the kind of thing that you say, oh yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea, Roxroy. But I don't think anybody is really going with Roxroy's plan of like all guy alliance.
Yeah, we also have a lot of women with advantages. So like if for some reason the men got the numbers and decided to try to run away with it, it's...
Yeah, I mean, and Roxroy really isn't in the big alliance. Like he's like big alliance adjacent, but like Drea's in the big alliance, Lindsay's in the big alliance. So like it's hard to imagine that Jonathan is throwing Lindsay away, that they're gonna necessarily like even that Roxroy is gonna want to blindside Drea. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So it's possible, but I actually would be surprised if it ends up holding where we end up seeing the like big like a guys alliance, because it really is like Omer also part of that group. It seemed like that it was Roxroy talking to Jonathan and Mike, that Jonathan, Mike, and Hai seem like they have a final three. It seemed like that Omer, that might be the thing that if it does stick even a little bit, it might be the thing that sort of like puts Omer to go into the mode of like, okay, let me pick up people on the bottom and then make a play. So I would be surprised if it happens, and then if it does happen, if it's successful.
And last prediction for you.
Yes.
If you had to put your money on who from this season will spend the next 10 years podcasting with you every season, like I have.
Yes.
Enjoying.
Are you retiring? Are you passing the baton?
I hope not.
Okay. Are you giving up your spot?
Has this podcast made you feel?
No, I'm just okay. Who will talk to me?
Who will talk to you and establish themselves in the podcast world after this season?
Okay. It will, and it has to be mutual. It can't just be who I want.
Right. It has a mutual. Who do you think you are going to form a sort of a long-term friendship with?
Okay. Lydia.
You heard it here first. Lydia Chlamydia and Rob Cesternino will do a 420 podcast once a season.
Every year.
And they'll do it with high support.
Yes. Okay. All right. How about that?
There you go. You answered my question.
We'll do every season. We'll do 20 questions about the 4th episode.
Yes. I think that's great.
With Lydia. Good?
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Listen, I love the voicemail thing, and as many seasons as you'll have me, I'm happy to come and chat.
Okay. And you're happy with this one today?
I don't want to say yes and have the audience.
I'm very happy.
No.
I'm very happy.
I'll say you know what? No, that's me of the past. I'll say I had a great time.
Yeah. What would Marianne say?
Marianne would be less neurotic than I'm being, as we've discussed.
She's
Marianne
say,
would say,
"Are you kidding me? This is a great podcast, and everybody's listening is like, oh my god, this is the greatest podcast I ever heard," and I'm just like loving it, and they're retweeting it, and this is great.
I have a blast. I had a blast chatting. I feel like Rob, it's just chatting with an old friend at this point.
I love getting to catch up. These are only the lovers that are here at 2 hours and 35 some odd minutes. Yes.
I really miss, getting to see everybody at the live events, but
coming to the house,
and
spilling the coffee. Yes.
I'd love to wander around your North Carolinian woods.
Yes.
Have our dogs meet. We both have dogs now.
Wow. Will you be making a big coast to coast road trip this summer? Or you only do that if there's COVID? Yes.
No, this is the plan actually. Because I'd like to take my pup across the country, and
wow.
I think a road trip might be the way I do it. And so if I find myself in North Carolina with my pup,
please,
I would love for our play date. I'd love to spill coffee all over your
please. That's how you could christen the house.
I mean, does it feel like a home without the coffee I've spilled on it?
No, it does not. It just feels like that we are just visiting.
Yeah, the walls are too unstained.
Yes, please. Come in and leave your mark here on the new house. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being here with us and spending so much time. It is always a treat. We still have a lot to do this weekend. Nasir coming up.
Go see Nasir. Here,
we
Nasir.
have Jessica Leese to talk about everything we've learned from this week on Survivor Academy.
If you want to follow along to my social media, it's always at Hannah Lil Nesson. Twitter, Instagram,
always
TikTok.
Has been, always will be.
Yeah. Not to disrupt your end of show announcements, but
I'm done.
Go listen to Angelina too.
Yeah.
Compare and contrast. Play both podcasts at the same time. See if we speak in unison at any point. That's the challenge.
What a cacophony that would be of like 2 podcasts at the same time.
I hope I hear from y'all on the social medias.
Hold on. You had brunch with Zach and bullied him out of pancakes. He was super nice about it. Did you go to Denny's?
Would you like me to tell you briefly for the 2 hour 40-minute people the story of this?
Give them a treat.
Yes. So went to brunch with a small group of Survivor people at a place that I love. It's called Salt's Cure in Los Angeles. They have really good griddle cakes. But the best thing to do at Salt's Cure is there's a $20 thing where you get pancakes, bacon, all the whole works, and it's perfect splitting amount. Mm-hmm. And so I was describing this. I was saying you should split it. This is the thing to do. And Zach had found someone to split it with. And I said, anybody else? No one else wanted to split. And Zach said, oh, did you want to split with the person I'm splitting with instead? And I go, no, it's okay. Then he said again, are you sure you want to split? I go, no, it's fine. He goes, are you sure? I mean, I'm happy to not split. And I go, okay. And he goes, oh. And I go, yeah, you can't ask me 3 times if I want the better brunch deal. I'm going to say yes by the 3rd time.
Say yes.
Okay. And he could not have been more lovely as I took his pancakes. right from under him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Zach was a great.
Seems like a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, sweet super fan. Lydia's just so cool and together, and I hope that they. I don't know if they want to play again. I don't know.
Yeah. Hope they get to play again if they want to, and if not, we wish them all the best. And we wish the listeners all the best for spending so much time with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you again.
Can you do a hashtag? Or
what's the hashtag? Well, you do it.
Oh, what did you call Jonathan's show?
Jonathan's show?
Subversion, when he's a small-time hero? Is that too?
Yes. The Subverter?
The Subverter? Hashtag the Subverter.
He subverts your expectations?
There was an earlier hashtag too that I thought was funny. If you're still listening, you're a rock star. I keep extending it. Rob keeps trying to end it, and I'm like, no, we will talk for another 3 hours. I want to beat Christian Hubicki's record. What was it, like 3.5?
I believe it was 6.
Okay, I'm not going to beat Christian Hubicki's record. I immediately
the record for a Survivor. Yeah.
I'm
not we were recapping the whole season. Yeah. There's only one episode.
Wait, he went 6 hours?
Yeah, I believe so. Did that subvert your expectations?
I'm just not going to be anywhere near it. End this thing.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you.